Yes, indeed. Shalom Aleichem. Shabbat Shalom Aleichem. It's Mikael Corbin Yahoo here. We are live today for Parashat Terumah. We will be getting started in just a moment. We wanted to go ahead and get this all situated and up and running. We're live here today. We are the new moon. The new moon was just last night. And so we are now getting ready. Just 1 month away. About what? A good 34 days, 44 days away from my first holy day of the year with Pesach and Matzot just around the corner. And so today again, we are going to be reading Parashat Terumah. It is Shabbat Shekalim. This is the Shabbat that precedes the month of uh, Pesach. This is the Shabbat also of counting census for all the men. Typically that what took place. We're going to be reading today from Shemot, book of Exodus, chapter 25, verse 1 through chapter 27, verse 19. Then we're going to get into the Haftarah, 2 Kings, chapter 12, verses 1 through 17. It may be for some sections and some readings, chapter 11, verse 21 through chapter 12, 16. But as usual, before we begin, we always like to start with an article to somewhat frame perspective of what we're going to be dealing with. We're calling this particular study today the purity of unity, as we're going to be dealing with Parsha Terumah. And we'll see what Terumah means pretty soon. But as we go ahead and get into this article, we will frame our perspective with this article translated by Moshe Miller, the teachings of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, who is considered the father of the Zohar, first century. 10 tapestries of tikkun, tikkun being a word that means the rectifications, the corrections, the repair. This week's Torah reading describes the various components and furnishings of the tabernacle. Yes, which was a reflection of the structure of the spiritual world and is also parallel in the structure of man's soul and body. It is a reflection of the structure of the spiritual worlds and also parallels the structure of man's soul and body. The tent of the tabernacle was formed from 10 tapestries divided into 2 sets of 5 each. Each set of 5 tapestries was sewn together and then draped over the framework of upright wooden beams forming the walls. The 2 sets of tapestries were joined together by fasteners hooked through loops on the edges of each of the tapestries. Quoting Exodus 26, make the tabernacle out of 10 tapestries. The 2 sets of tapestries can then be joined together so that the tabernacle will be one piece. One piece. Rabbi Hayat said, here is the secret of unification of the 10 sephirot of the world of tikkun, the world of repair, to which the 10 tapestries correspond. For the tabernacle comprised a number of different levels, each mirroring a different aspect of the structure of the spiritual worlds, and yet the tabernacle will be one piece. Echad, Yehud. The unification, the Yehud of the 10 sephirot of the world of tikkun rectifies the discord and lack of unity of the sephirot of tohu, which is confusion or chaos or emptiness, formlessness. And this shattered precisely because there was no unity and harmony among them. The phrase, the tabernacle will be one piece, demonstrates that all its parts together form a single whole. In man too, there are a number of different limbs, upper and lower. Some are on the inside, such as the brain, heart, liver, etc., and some are on the outside, such as the arms and legs. Yet all together, they form one composite body called a man. So too was the tabernacle, the components of which were all in the likeness of the supernal worlds. When combined together, they form what the verse describes as the tabernacle will be one piece, the internal aspects and the eternal external aspects. In exactly the same way, listen to this, the Torah and the mitzvot, or the mitzvot of the Torah, the commandments of the instructions, are the limbs and organs of the one above. The mitzvot of the Torah are the limbs and organs of the one above. Also, the mitzvot form a composite harmonious unit. The 248 positive commandments of the Torah parallel 248 limbs and organs of the human body, so that a mitzvah, the fulfilling of a commandment, is associated with each limb or organ of the human body. You can see this in Zohar 2, page 117 to 118a. You can see this in Tukkanei Zohar, Tikkun 30, part 74, Tikkun 70 also, which is on page 30. When a person fulfills a positive commandment, he draws down Elohim nature and a radiation from the light, right? The order of the infinite one to the upper and lower worlds. This is from Tanya, from Egeret HaKadosh 10, which is on page 114. So when all of them fuse together, they form a single mystery, the secret of the tabernacle, i.e., the structure in which the divine presence, the Shekhinah, becomes revealed, comprising various limbs and parts that together form a man in the same way as the mitzvot of the Torah. In other words, the various parts of the tabernacle, just like the 248 mitzvot, the positive commandments, and the 248 limbs of the human body, all form a composite whole that reflects the divine image in which man was created. Selim, and we'll get into this very shortly. The image. For the mitzvot of the Torah, all the mystery of man. The mitzvot of the Torah are all the mystery of man, i.e., the divine image comprising male and female, the 248 positive commandments, you shall do, and the 365 prohibitions, you shall not, corresponding to the arteries, the veins, and sinews of the human body. When these fuse together, they form the secret of man, which is actually Mashiyach. If anyone would remove or deny one of the mitzvot of the Torah, this would cause damage to the entire structure, just like if one of our organs or one of our limbs or one of our members or arteries were blocked or something was wrong with our system, it would cause damage to the entire structure. For all the mitzvot are parts and limbs of the form of man, just as removing a limb or organ would at the very least disfigure a person. Accordingly, they are all part of the same unity, and therefore the Israelite people are called the one nation, right? Goy Echad. All of them together constitute a single body. As the verse states, you are the flock that I pasture. You are a man, Selah. And as it is written, who is like your people, the one nation on earth? Selah, Selah. Shabbat Shalom, Yimah. Sharon. Just finished reading this article here. We did start pretty prompt. This article is about the tapestries of Tikkun, the 10 tapestries of 10 tents that were on the tabernacle and how they formed one complete tabernacle despite the 5 sets that comprise the tabernacle. But we look at also how our bodies are comprised of different organs and limbs, very different members, but yet comprise the whole composite of our body. We look at also the Torah, or the mitzvot of the Torah, and how they too comprise a oneness that unites our body and makes everything come together, of which the fulfillment of those brings forth the secret of man, which we know the goal of all of that is to manifest Mashiach. And so this is what this is all pointing to. When we're looking at the tabernacle, and we'll read this today. We read it last year. I went back and listened to our lesson from last year. I mean, we were definitely on it, but I'm sure this year is going to be that much more profound and deeper and even more clear as the waters are becoming more still because we're getting more acquainted and familiar with them, and we're seeing how life is unfolding and has been laid out even through our study of Torah. And so we're going to definitely take a look at this today. We're going to be dealing with the purity of unity today. This is what we're going to be dealing with, the purity of unity, right? And so it's going to be a very insightful and profound study. Some of the things that stuck out to me from this article, I'll just go back and touch some of them again. We talked about the secret of unification, the 10 Sephirot, to which the 10 tapestries correspond, understanding that the tabernacle was comprised of a number of different levels, each mirroring a different aspect of the structure of the spiritual worlds, and yet the tabernacle will be one piece. And so as we look at how the tabernacle was constructed, there were very, very specific details that went into its structure and design. But that design was ultimately bring forth the entire structure, a unified structure that would allow for Israel, particularly, to manifest the presence of Yah, due to the fact that they had pretty much rejected the enshrining of the Spirit in themselves. And so they now needed this particular structure to harness the presence of Yah, to bring forth the presence of Yah. So this is something that we, in our design, the way that Yah has designed us, for us each to be houses or tabernacles of the Shekinah, the Shekhinah of Yah. But as a result of our sins, just rather matter-of-factly, that causes us to not be able to house that presence of Yah, which is a pure, unadulterated, unified presence. This is why it's so important for us to understand what it means to serve Yah wholeheartedly, as we are to not have any guilt conscience. We read from, I don't know if you don't think you were here this past Wednesday, but we read from the patriarch of Zebulun. And Zebulun said, he had no consciousness of sin. He wasn't even aware of any sin that he had committed. And this is how pure he was because of his love and observance of Torah and the keeping of the mitzvot. And it just brought forth a life for him that he was able to operate in the purity of oneness, which meant he had no duality within himself. And that's so important. And this is what this here does. And this is what the next paragraph talks about. It says the unification, the word Yehud, the oneness of the 10 Sephirot, right, which are very symbolic not only of the 10 commandments, but the 10 utterances that brought forth creation. The 10 commandments are what pretty much prescribes a life of holiness and oneness for us in relationship with Yah and one another and ourselves, just as the 10 words that were spoken in Genesis 1 brought forth the manifestation of life, harmony, oneness for all of creation. The 10 Sephirot, we know, are the tools to bring forth all of creation. And so when the unification of the 10 Sephirot of the world of Tikkun, the world of repair, it rectifies, it corrects the discord and lack of unity of the Sephirot of Tohu, or the formlessness, which was in the beginning. And it shattered, Tohu shattered precisely because there was no unity and harmony among them. And this is where we even can look at this even politically, where we know what the Black Panthers used to say, that a people united will never be defeated, right? But we know that the entire agenda of the enemy, of Satan, is to divide and conquer. Because if there is no unity, no harmony, well, then we know a house divided cannot stand. And that is what the intent of the enemy is to assure that the house does not stand. It remains divided. Okay. With the phrase here, the tabernacle will be one piece, demonstrates that all its parts together form a single whole. And this is what we have to understand as relates to even the messianic body of Israel. Israel, we have to understand we are one nation. We are one people. This is why we say the Shema twice a day, because it is uniting us first and foremost with ourselves. We're becoming wholehearted within ourselves. We're becoming wholehearted and united with Yah, with our Father and our King. And then we become united with one another, because that is what defines us. That's what truly allows for us to exist. We have to remove ourselves from the equation and understand the true paradigm and the pattern that Yah created for us. And we talked about that last week as well. And it's so interesting. I'll digress. I won't get into that. It's because it's kind of, it's interesting, though. Dealing with pattern, which we'll talk about it though. We'll talk about it. Oh, so as we continue to uh move on to this Shabbat Shalom Agraya as well. Um, we can see that this is a very, very, very symbolic matter relative to understanding the oneness that is to exist within ourselves, within our families, within our nation, and within the earth. That is a imperative that we have to go about manifesting and studying first and foremost, understanding the dynamics of oneness and the dynamics of unity and how Yah's pattern, Yah's entire uh, the pattern that he established from the beginning in vision for us to see and understand first and foremost is what we are to go carry out and exercise so that the world can see one, Yah lives, but Yah is also one. So that is the challenge that we are faced with to make that a reality. All right. Any thoughts, comments, questions, reflections before we go ahead and get into blessings and the reading for the day? All right, then we will do.
I got a comment.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I was um I was doing some I was reading something, and one thing I one thing you hear about is that when it come to Christians, right?
Mm-hmm.
And because they worship on Sunday, a lot of time people be like, "Oh man, they worshiping the sun god,"
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
then when you look at the Book of Jubilees, it says that the children of Israel in the last days they're gonna begin to just focus on the moon, and because they are just focuses on the moon, that all the feast days going to be off, and we're gonna begin to make days that were supposed to be holy
Mm-hmm.
unholy,
Mm-hmm.
and so and we always hear about the people that worship the sun, but we
Mm-hmm.
never hear about really the people that worship the moon.
Mm-hmm.
And so where I'm going at is that when you look at Mount Sinai, right, the AI represent mountain, and then the sign of the sin meant me. So it was the mountain of the moon.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and it was showing how the people that was worshiping the moon, they began to call it their place of the worship synagogues. But they removed the S-I-N, and they started spelling the S-Y in synagogues.
Mm-hmm.
And they were saying how the leader of the moon cult, his name was Moses.
Interesting.
And they said whenever you look at in Europe, when you start looking on like Europe and places wherever they portrayed Moses, they always showed him with the two horns. Even though
Mm-hmm.
we know when he came down the mountain, it said that his face he began to shine. But when you look at that, it said horns,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they were
Mm-hmm.
saying how the way they began to start worshiping the moon is that whenever the sun would go down, that's when they would offer all their feasts
Mm.
because they
I see
couldn't do it
that.
in the daytime because if they were doing it in the daytime, they'd be worshiping the sun. So they started doing it, when the sun go down. And so
Hmm.
I'm saying
Hmm.
this to say, like, how do we know if we ignorant worshiping the moon, right? Because even when we read the book of Jeremiah, the Most High is pleading with the children of Israel to stop worshiping the
Hmm.
Queen of the Heavens.
Right. Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm just trying to,
No,
because
I get it.
it always goes back into, I think that's Ezekiel, when he said, was it me, O Israel, that you was worshiping, all these years, in the
Right.
wilderness and stuff like that.
Right. 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 It's an interesting point. I think let me not say I think, when we understand the role of the sun, the moon, and the stars, going back to Genesis 1, and you look at where it says they shall be for signs, for appointed times, for days and years, right? And we understand that they are servants and they actually serve a purpose. And the purpose that they provide for us are recognizing the year, recognizing the months, and recognizing different signs that occur and the days that are to be observed. So the moon's purpose for us is to recognize the month and then also the day of the month, right? The sun is to give us the season. So what I mean by season, it lets us know we're fall, we're spring, we're summer, we're fall, we're winter. Because the equinox and the what's the other one? The solstice provide us with the determination of those four seasons, right? And so understanding their roles and our observance provide us with a clearer understanding of what they are for. We don't worship them. We recognize what role they play. We serve Yah because while we observe Torah, we keep the mitzvot of Yah. We keep the Torah of Yah. So that does not allow us to worship the sun or the moon or the stars, right? What we worship, we know has no visage. It has no form. It has no particular body that we can acknowledge to worship, right? We don't have any images of it. We don't have any particular, uh, um, real even a building at times to serve Yah. Although we go to synagogue and Knesset, but that is just to come together as a people. It is not that we go. It is no matter where we go, we're going to worship Yah and serve Yah, right? So I think that when we just stay rooted to what Torah prescribes, to what the mitzvot instruct and command us to do, I believe we remain safe. And if we just look at the star and the moon and the sun for what they are, I think that it can just keep us in alignment with the will of Yah. And you're right though, because people who just focus solely on the moon without recognizing what the sun is for in terms of its determination of where we are seasonally, we're gonna be off, right? Because if you keeping Passover in the wintertime,
Hmm.
it's a spring festival.
Right.
You haven't observed the position of the sun in relationship to what the moon is telling us to do. So I can see that though. And it has happened. But when we start to literally worship the sun and the moon, that's a whole different story. That's when we're giving homage to the sun and the moon. That's when we're, invoking the principles and names of the sun and the moon, as opposed to understanding that they're just servants. Even the name of the sun in Hebrew, we talked about this last year, Shemesh, it means servant, right? And the name of the moon, I believe, is Lavan. Not Levon. I forgot the name of the moon, but I know it means the white one, but it's just a reflection of Yah. And I read something. This brother Matiyah who got me this book, and I don't know. Can you see the book I'm holding up?
Or the Midrash.
Yeah,
Okay.
Nidrash Rabbah. This is Genesis Rabbah particularly. They talk about it. I need to find where it is because man, I read as soon as that week, Imam Sharon, we went over the moon and everything. Man, this
Yeah.
book ended up talking about the sun and the moon and the purpose of the sun and the moon. I was like, oh my goodness. Like, okay, I see it clear now.
What's
Yeah.
the name of that book?
It's the Midrash. It's Midrash Rabbah, but it's Genesis Rabbah
Oh,
particularly.
okay.
Yeah, this was
I
a
just
gift
always
that's.
look at, when it comes to the sun and the moon, I just
Hmm.
always look at it as a wedding, like that sun being a groom and that
Hmm.
moon being a bride. And when they're on one accord, when you one accord with that sun, that's when that bride get that glory.
Yeah, yeah,
That
yeah. Yeah, powerful. I like that. I like that. That's
But
definitely
don't
a.
we kind of look at the moon and the sun also as being the sun is Yah and the moon is Israel. And you can kind of figure out it is Israel because of the character of the moon. The sun never goes out because actually the moon is just a reflection of the
Hey,
sun.
yes,
right.
ma'am.
So it's not gonna go out. But it was but the moon was so important to to uh, uh to Satan and some other kings and stuff like that is it was so important because it told the time of the festivals. And yeah, we were commanded to keep the festivals, the feast days.
That's correct.
And if you cannot keep the feast days, then you transgressing the word of Yah. And
Hmm.
anytime people will say, brother, that oh, you worshiping. I'm not worshiping. When sometimes you try to tell people about the moon and stuff like, oh, it's just worship of the moon. No, the moon is there to tell time. It is time. It is a feast day. It tells the beginning of your month. It tells the middle of your month. It tells the end of your month. You just can't confuse the uh, the lunar month with the regular the what we see. What we think out here is every day. The moon, it was the first commandment that was given to Israel. It's so important. We just had the new moon on the 27th. But if you look up in the sky, maybe tonight, it was still dark yesterday. And sometime that moon will stay dark that we can see unless you got a telescope. It'll stay dark anywhere from 3 to 7 days.
Mm.
But it's not for but you need to know when it first come in. And that
Hmm.
was the job and I thought that was so beautiful what Moray did a couple of weeks ago on Iska, Ishkai. I don't know how to say the Hebrew name
Hmm.
of it, but they were the Sanhedrins and they were the keepers of time. And I was, really trying to understand what was the fact that what happened with them. Well, when the temple go, they had to go. They always had to live in proximity of the temple. People just do not realize how important the moon is, but it's still only a reflection of the sun.
Mm. Yeah. So, good word, Iman. Hold on. Elkanah Shabbat Shalom. See you up in here, Aki. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So we about to go ahead and get into this particular parsha. We in Terumah. Real quick, Terumah is a word that means contribution or offering, even the word gift. It could be dealing with a sacrifice or a tribute. But when we deal with the root word of Terumah, that word is rum. This is also where the name Abraham comes from, but it means to rise, to be of height and altitude, to exalt oneself, as in pride. But this is exactly the opposite. We're lifting Yah up and bringing our teruma, right? So it can be to elevate, to raise, and to lift up. Knowledge, which is the resh, contained, which is uh, evolve, and the word in waters, which is mem. Okay, so you see that their knowledge contained in waters, but it causes all within to rise. Okay, so this is what the purpose of room is, the terumah. It's causing everything to rise, to elevate. It can also be understood as the mind withdrawn from equilibrium. So now you're going into a particular polarity. Okay. That's what the gift and an offering does. It draws us near to Yah. It's a gift offering. Well, let us go ahead and into a spirit of prayer so we can get into our reading today, and then we will go from there. So again, before we do get into the reading, we're going to be reading Exodus 25:1 through chapter 27, verse 19. And depending on the version we're reading from, it will be 2 Kings chapter 12, verse 1 through verse 17, which for some could be verse 11, 21 through 12:16. But let us go ahead and enter into a spirit of prayer, and we will open with the blessings before we get into our reading. So in the spirit of prayer, hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo. Godlule Adonai Oti, Una Ramuma Shemo Yechidu. Lecha Adonai, Hagadula, Vahagevura, Vahateferet, Vehanetzach, Vehahod, Tiko Bashamayim Uvaretz. Lecha Adonai, Hamimlecha, Vehamitnase, Lecho Lerosh. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu, Vehistakavu, Lechadam Ragalav, Kadosh Hu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu, Vehistakavu lecha kitso, ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu. Av harachamim hu yarechim imamusim, vayizkor berid ayatanim, vayetzel nefesh otenu men harashaot, baharaot, vayaga, vayetzer hara men hanasuim, vayechon otanu lepeletet eolamim, Vayimel Meshoalatenu Bamadato Yeshua Barachamim. Hear, O Israel, Adonai is our El, Adonai is one, unique is our El, supreme our ruler, set apart in spirit. Acclaim the Most High with me. Let us exalt Elohim together. Yours, Adonai, is the greatness, the power, and the splendor. Yours is the triumph and the majesty, for all in heaven and on earth is yours. Yours, Adonai, is supreme sovereignty. Exalt Adonai, worship El, who is set apart. Exalt Adonai, our El, and bow toward El's holy mountain. Adonai, our El, is set apart. May the merciful one who show mercy to the people he has always sustained, remembering his covenant with our ancestors. May Allah deliver us from evil times, restrain the impulse within us to do evil, and favor our lives with enduring deliverance. May the Most High answer our petition with an abundant measure of kindness and compassion. Bariku et Adonai Hamvarach. Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam vayed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bochar benu makol ha'amim, menatan lanu et torato. Atah Adonai noten ha'torah. Amen. Blessed is Yah, the Blessed One. Blessed is Yah, who is blessed forever and all time. Blessed are you, Adonai, our El, King of the universe, who has chosen us from among all peoples and given us your Torah. Blessed are you, Yah, who gives us Torah. Amen. So we open up with the book of Exodus, chapter 25. We're going to read it in its entirety. Is anybody able? I want to say Shabbat Shalom to Aki, ye staff, see you up in here. But is anybody able to pick us up with chapter 25 of Vakashah?
I get it.
Okay, Toda Rabbah.
And Yah spoke to Moshe, saying, speak to the children of Israel that they take up the contribution for me. From everyone who hearts move him, you shall take up my contribution. And this is the contribution which you take up from them: gold and silver and bronze and blue and purple and scarlet material and fine linen and goat's hair and ram skin dyed red and fine leather and acacia wood, oil for the light, spices for the anointing oil, and for the sweet incense. Shoham stone, and stones to be set in the shoulder garment and in the breastplate. And they shall make me a set apart place, and I shall dwell in the midst. According to all that I show you, the pattern of the dwelling place and the pattern of all its furnishing, make it exactly so. And they shall make an ark of acacia wood, 2.5 cubits long, a cubit and a half wide, and a cubit and a half high. And you shall overlay it with clean gold, inside and outside. You shall overlay it, and you shall make on it a molding of gold all around. And you shall cast 4 rings of gold for it, and put them in the 4 corners, 2 rings on one side and 2 rings on the other side. And you shall make poles of acacia wood, and overlay them with gold. And you shall put the poles into rings on the sides of the ark, to lift up the ark by them. The poles of the rings of ark, they are not taken from it. And into the ark you shall put the witness which I give you. And you shall make a lid of atonement of clean gold, 2.5 cubits long, and a cubit and a half wide. And you shall make 2 cherubim of gold. Make them of beaten work at the 2 ends of the lid of atonement. And you should make 1 cherub at one end, and the other cherub at the other end. Make the cherubim from the lid of atonement at its 2 ends. And the cherubim shall be spreading out the wings above, covering the lid of atonement with their wings, with their faces towards each other. The faces of the cherubim turn toward the lid of atonement. And you shall put the lid of atonement on top of the ark, and put the ark, the witness which I give you. And I shall meet with you there, and from above the lid of atonement, from between the 2 cherubim which are on the ark of the witness. I shall speak to you all that which I command you concerning the children of Israel. And you shall make a table of acacia wood, 2 cubits long, a cubit wide, a cubit and a half high. You shall overlay it with clean gold, and you shall make a molding of gold all around. You shall make for it a rim of the hand breed all around. You shall make a gold molding for the rim all around. And you shall make for it 4 rings of gold, and put the rings on the 4 corners that are at its 4 legs. The rings are close to rim, as holders for the poles to lift the table. You shall make the poles of acacia wood, and overlay them with gold. And the table shall be lifted with them. And you shall make it dishes, and its ladies, and its jars, and its bowls for pouring. Bake them of clean gold. And you shall put the showbread on the table before me continually. You shall make a lampstand of clean gold. The lampstand is made of beaten work. Its base and its shaft, its cups, its ornamental knobs, and blossoms are from it. And 6 branches shall come out of its sides, 3 branches of the lampstand out of one side, and 3 branches of the lampstand out the other side. 3 cups made like almond flowers on one branch, where they are ornamental knob and blossoms, and 3 cups made like almond flowers on the other branch, with ornamental knob and blossom. So for the 6 branches coming out of the lampstand, and on the lampstand itself are 4 cups made like almond flowers, with ornamental knob and blossoms, and a knob under the first 2 branches of the same, and a knob under the second 2 branches of the same, and a knob under the third 2 branches of the same, according to the 6 branches coming out of the lampstand. Their knobs and their branches are of the same. All of it one beaten work of clean gold. And you shall make 7 lamps for it, and they shall mount its lamps so that they give light it in front of it. And its snuffer and their trays are clean gold. It is made of a talent of clean gold with all these utensils. So see and do according to the pattern which was shown to you on the mountain.
Say la Toda Rabaki Yashar to you. We're going to keep moving on chapter 26. Is anybody able to pick up for chapter 26, Bavakasha? All right, let's go ahead and get it. Make the dwelling place with 10 curtains of fine woven linen, in blue and purple and scarlet material. Make them with cherubim, the work of a skilled workman. The length of each curtain is 28 cubits, and the width of each curtain 4 cubits, all the curtains having one measure. 5 curtains are joined to each other, and 5 curtains are joined to each other. You shall make loops of blue on the edge of the end curtain on one set, and do the same on the edge of the end curtain of the second set. Make 50 loops in the one curtain, and make 50 loops on the edge of the end curtain of the second set, the loops being opposite to each other. You shall make 50 hooks of gold, and you shall join the curtains together with the hooks, and the dwelling place shall be one. And you shall make curtains of goat's hair. For a tent over the dwelling place, make 11 curtains. The length of each curtain is 30 cubits, and the width of each curtain 4 cubits, one measure to the 11 curtains. And you shall join the 5 curtains by themselves, and the 6 curtains by themselves, and you shall double over the 6 curtains at the front of the tent. And you shall make 50 loops on the edge of the curtain that is outermost in one set, and 50 loops on the edge of the curtain of the second set. And you shall make 50 bronze hooks, and put the hooks into the loops, and join the tent together, and it shall be one. And the overlapping part of the rest of the curtains of the tent, the half curtain that remains, shall hang over the back of the dwelling place. And a cubit on one side, and a cubit on the other side of what remains of the length of the curtains of the tent is to hang over the sides of the dwelling place, on this side and on that side, to cover it. And you shall make a covering of ram skin dyed red for the tent, and a covering of fine leather above that. And for the dwelling place, you shall make the boards of acacia wood, standing up. 10 cubits is the length of a board, and a cubit and a half the width of each board. 2 tenons in each board for binding one together, to binding one to another. Do the same for all the boards of the dwelling place. And you shall make the boards for the dwelling place, 20 boards for the south side. And make 40 sockets of silver under the 20 boards, 2 sockets under each of the boards for its 2 tenons. And for the second side of the dwelling place, on the north side, 20 boards. And there are 40 sockets of silver, 2 sockets under each of the boards. And for the extreme parts of the dwelling place westward, make 6 boards. And make 2 boards for the back 2 corners, the 2 back corners of the dwelling place. And they are double beneath, and they similarly are complete to the top, to the one ring. So it is for both of them. They are for the 2 corners, and they shall be 8 boards, and their sockets of silver, 16 sockets, 2 sockets under the one board, and 2 sockets under the other board. And you shall make bars of acacia wood, 5 for the boards on one side of the dwelling place, and 5 bars for the boards on the other side of the dwelling place, and 5 bars for the boards at the side of the dwelling place for the extreme parts westward, with the middle bar in the midst of the boards, going through from end to end. And overlay the boards with gold. Make their rings of gold as holders for the bars, and overlay the bars with gold. And you shall raise up the dwelling place according to its pattern, which you were shown on the mountain. And you shall make a veil of blue and purple and scarlet material, and fine woven linen, the work of a skilled workman, made with cherubim. And you shall put it on the 4 columns of acacia wood overlaid with gold, their hooks of gold upon sockets of silver, upon 4 sockets of silver. You shall hang the veil from the hooks, and shall bring the ark of the witness there behind the veil. And the veil shall make a separation for you between the set apart and the most set apart place. And you shall put the lid of atonement upon the ark of the witness in the most set apart place. And you shall set the table outside the veil, the lampstand opposite the table on the side of the dwelling place toward the south. Put the table on the north side. And you shall make a covering for the door of the tent of blue and purple and scarlet material and fine woven linen made by a weaver. You shall make for the covering 5 columns of acacia wood and overlay them with gold. Their hooks of gold. You shall cast 5 sockets of bronze for them. Selah. And we're going to read to chapter 27 all the way to verse 19. Is anybody able to pick up for us this last reading from Shemot? Chapter 27, verses 1 through 19.
And you shall make an altar of acacia wood, 5 cubits long and 5 cubits wide. The altar is square, and the height is 3 cubits. And you shall make its horn on its 4 corners. Its horns are of the same, and you shall overlay it with bronze. And you shall make the pots to receive its ashes, and its shovels, and its basins, and its forks, and its fire holders. Make all its utensils of bronze. And you should make a grating for it, a bronze network. And it should make on the network 4 bronze rings at 4 corners. And you should put it under the rim of the altar beneath, so that the network is halfway up the altar. And you should make poles for the altars, poles of acacia woods, and it shall overlay them with bronze. And the poles shall be put in the rings, and the poles shall be on 2 sides of the altar for lifting it. Make it hollow with boards, and it shall shone to you on the mountain. So they are to make it, and you shall make the courtyard of his dwelling place. For the south side screens for the courtyard made of fine woven linen, 100 cubits long for one side. And it's 20 columns, and there are 20 sockets of bronze, the hooks of the column, and the bands of silver. And so for the north side inlet, screens 100 cubits long. When there's 20 columns, and there are 20 sockets of bronze, and the hooks of the columns, and their bands of silver, and the width of the courtyard on the west side screen of 50 cubits, with their 10 columns and their 10 sockets, and the width of the courtyard on the east side 50 cubits, and the screen on one side of the gate 15 cubits, with their 3 columns and 3 sockets, and on the other side screen of the 15 cubits, with their columns and their 3 sockets, and for the gate of the courtyard a covering 20 cubits long, of blue and purple and scarlet material, and fine woven linen made by a weaver, 4 columns and 4 sockets. All the columns around the courtyard have bands of silver, their hooks silver, and their sockets bronze. The length of the courtyard is 100 cubits, and the width 50 by 50, and the height 5 cubits, woven of fine linen, dread and its sockets of bronze. All the utensils of the dwelling place for all its servants, all its pegs, and all the pegs of the courtyard are bronze. And
Selah.
you,
That's good, Akeem. We're going to verse 19. I
okay,
believe that's where we're going to. Yes, sir. So, Todah Rabbah for your reading. Yashar call out to you. We're going to close out for the Torah and then get to the half Torah. Selah. From the spirit of prayer. Hallelujah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, melech haolam, asher notan lanu, Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tachenu. Baruch atah Adonai, noten HaTorah. Amen. Blessed are you, Yah El, King of the universe, who has planted within us, who has given us the Torah of truth and planted within us life everlasting. Blessed are you, Yah, who gives us the Torah. Amen. So now we go to the blessings of the half Torah. Selah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'neviim tovim v'aratha b'debrahim hanomorim b'yamet. Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'torah Moshe avodo v'Yisrael amo v'nevi'icha amet v'asedech. Amen. Blessed are you, Yah, our El, King of the universe, who has appointed devoted prophets, upholding their teachings, messages of truth. Blessed are you, Adonai, who loves the Torah, Moshe, his servant, Israel, his people, and prophets of truth and righteousness. Amen and amen. And so let's go ahead and read 2 Kings. We're going to start at chapter 12, verses 1 through 17. Is anyone able to close out our reading for the day with that particular passage? 2 Kings chapter 2, verses 1 through 17. All right, here we go.
I get it.
Yehoash. I get it, Aki. It's okay, Toda. Yehoash began to reign in the 7th year of Yehu, and he reigned 40 years. This is 2 Kings. Is it 1 Kings? I think I'm on the wrong one. No, I'm on the right one. Okay. So Yehoash began to reign in the 7th year of Yehu, and he reigned 40 years in Jerusalem. And his mother name was Sivia of Beersheba. Jehoash did what was right in the eyes of Adonai all the days in which Jehoiada the priest instructed him. However, the high places were not taken away. The people still slaughter and burn incense on the high places. And Jehoash said to the priests, all the silver of the set apart gifts that are brought into the house of Adonai, the silver coming over, each man's assessment silver, all the silver that a man purposes in his heart to bring into the house of the Most High. Let the priests take for themselves, each from his friend, and let them repair the damages of the house wherever there is damage. And it came to be, by the 23rd year of sovereign Jehoash, that the priests had not repaired the damages of the house. And sovereign Jehoash called Jehoiada, the priest, and the other priests, and said to them, why have you not repaired the damages of the house? And now do not take any more silver from your friends, but give it for repairing the damages of the house. And the priests agreed that they would neither receive any more silver from the people, nor repair the damages of the house. And Jehoiada, the priest, took a chest and bored a hole in its lid and set it beside the altar on the right side as one comes into the house of the Most High. And the priests who guarded the door put there all the silver that was brought into the house of the Most High. And it came to be, when they saw that there was much silver in the chest, that the sovereign scribe and the high priest came up and put it in bags and counted the silver that was found in the house of the Most High, and gave the silver weighed out into the hands of those who did the work, who had the oversight of the house of the Most High. And they paid it out to the carpenters and builders who worked on the house of the Most High, and to stonemasons and stone cutters, and for buying timber and hewn stone to repair the damage of the house of the Most High, for all that was paid out to repair the house. However, there were not made for the house of the Most High basins of silver, snuffers, sprinkling bowls, trumpets, any objects of gold or objects of silver from the silver that was brought into the house of the Most High. For they gave that to the workmen, and they repaired the house of the Most High with it. And they did not reckon with men into whose hand they gave the silver to be paid to workmen, for they acted trustworthily. The silver from the trespass offering and the silver from the sin offerings was not brought into the house of the Most High. It belonged to the priests. And Chazael, sovereign of Aram, went up and fought against Gath and captured it. And Chazael set his face to go up to Jerusalem. Say it loud. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, melech haolam, tzorchol ha'olamim, zadik b'kol hadorot, ha'el ha'ne'aman ha'amer va'oseh, ha'midbar chayam, shechal debara v'emet v'asedech. Ne'aman atah hu Adonai Eloheinu, v'namonim debarecha, v'debar echad mibarecha ocho lo yishuv ha'chayam, ki yel melech ne'aman v'rachaman atah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'ech ha'ne'aman bechal debarav, amen. Rachim el Sion ki hi bet chayenu, ve'lelobot nofesh toshia b'mhara b'yameinu. Baruch atah Adonai, masmiach Sion b'benecha, amen. Semechenu Adonai Eloheinu b'Eliyahu hanavi ovadecha, u'uv malchut Beit David Mashiyach, bam haraya bo yagev lavanu, kisolev, yishev zer velo yinachalu od acharim et kevodo, ki b'Hashem kol shekani shabata lo shelo yichaben oro le'olam vayed, u'chata Adonai, k'gain David, amen. Al haTorah ve'al ha'avodah ve'al ha'nevi'im ve'al yom ha'shabbat hazeh שנתת לנו אדוני אלוהינו לקדישה ולאמונתך, לכבוד ותפארת, אל הכל אדוני אלוהינו, אנחנו מודים לך ומברכים אותך, יתברך שמך, ועל פי כל חי תמיד לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני. נחדש השבת. Amen. Praise to you, Yah El, King of the universe, rock of all ages, righteous in all generations, the steadfast El, whose word is teaching, whose decree is fulfillment, whose every teaching is truth and righteousness. Faithfully you, Yah El, in all of your promises, of which not one will remain unfulfilled, for you are a faithful and merciful El and sovereign. Praise to you, Adonai, the El who is faithful in all your promises. Amen. Show compassion for Sion, the fount of our existence, and bring hope soon to the humbled spirit. Praise to you, Adonai, who brings joy to Sion. Amen. Bring us joy, Adonai, El, through your prophet Eliah in the kingdom of the house of Dawid, your anointed. May Eliah come soon to gladden our hearts. May no outsider usurp Dawid's throne, and may no other inherit his esteem. By your set-apart name have you promised that his light shall never be extinguished. Blessed are you, Adonai, shield of Dawid. Amen. We thank you and praise you, Adonai our El, for the Torah, for worship, for the prophets, and for this Shabbat, which you have given us for set apartness and rest, for dignity and splendor. We thank you and praise you for all things. May your name be praised continually by every living creature. Praise to you, Yah, who sets apart Shabbat. Amen and amen. And so we come to Parashat Terumah. This is the Shabbat that we know as Shabbat Shechelim. Well, let's do this. Let's just come to Sephoriah. Well, let's look up Shabbat Shekalim right quick. This is a very interesting Shabbat. Shabbat Shekalim is a Shabbat in that it takes place on the Shabbat before on Adar 1. It's a day when the Torah reading is added to the Shabbat morning service. Typically, the reading was Shemot 30, but we are now dealing with this particular portion here, which is dealing with the offerings that are brought to the temple in gold, silver, and bronze. Okay, so this was what we're reading today. And so as we look at Parashat Terumah, again, to be elevated, to be lifted up, of course, we're lifting up the Most High. But when we lift up the Most High, we know that we are elevated. We too are elevated. And this is something that is interesting when we look at this, Vayidabar Adonai El Moshe Liamor. This is so important for us to read, and we often overlook this small but very significant phrase. And this is where the understanding of the Torah becomes so significant, because what we're getting from this is that Moshe received revelation from Yah. So this is about Moshe receiving the order of Yah. So this word Vayidaber, right? This is the connection of the hand or the power opening the door of the house to the head. That's what this is really saying. There's a connection of power, which is access through the door to the house, which is given to the head. That's what Vav. Vav is the connection. Yod is the power. Dalet is the door. Beit is the house. Resh is the head, or the knowledge, the mind. So this is what Yah is giving to Moshe, right? And we know this is the supreme order of life here, right? The fecunda and the gestator of life, giving to Moshe and speaking to him through word, through the instructions of the infinite, through the spirit or the waters of the head or the waters of the mind. And so this is how Yah communicated this to Moshe, right? And this is where we see now the oneness come from. Why? Because this is all coming from the source of existence, the source of life. The more we are in alignment with the words of the source of life, the more pure we become and the more united we become. And this is so important because what we're seeing here is the establishment of a threefold reality. You're seeing the establishment of the harmony and the unification and the made pure, the purification of deeds. You're seeing the purification of words, and you're seeing the purification of thoughts. The tabernacle correlates to the purification of deeds. The Torah leads to the purification of words. Elohim, Yah, leads to the purification of our thoughts. And so when we're following these decrees, these right rulings, these statutes, these commandments, these mitzvot, well, this is how we are being refined and renewed and recreated and corrected, even rectified. And then you're told here, Daber el b'nei Israel. And this word is so important. Let's do this. This is so important. So we see here, Daber el b'nei Israel. So this word davar, or daber, this is a word to speak, declare, to converse, command, promise, to warn, threaten. But it means to arrange. Yah is saying, get Israel in order. Arrange them properly. Through words, speak to them. Subdue them, my goodness. Have them master themselves. Right? So this is what we're really dealing with. And so this is what this word is really pointing to. The root has various significations, of which several are only found in the derivations in Hebrew, but which in the cognate language also appear in the verb. These various meanings may be thus arranged. The primary power. The etymologies in Holland long ago rightly observed is that the setting in a row, engaging in order. This is what daver means, or dabar means, to set in a row, to arrange in order, to lead, guide, especially to lead flocks or the herds of pasture, to rule, to direct a people, to lead, right? To bring into order, to subdue. This is what is taking place with Israel. Israel at this point in time of being corrected and being decolonized has to be ordered. They have to be led. They have to be arranged properly now. And so what is this doing in verse 2? Tell the Israelite people to bring me gifts. You shall accept gifts from me, from every Israelite person whose heart is so moved. What is the gift's purpose? And what do you have to do to get someone a gift? What is the purpose of a gift? And what does one have to do to actually go and to get someone a gift? Any thoughts? So, if you think about it, the purpose of a gift is to, acknowledge somebody, to show great gratitude, to show, thanks, to show appreciation, and also to please that person. But to give someone a gift means you have to become selfless and think beyond yourself. You can't just be one who is like, well, this is for me. No, you can't be like that. You have to entirely let go of your ego in order to give someone something that belongs to them, that came from you. And that can be a challenge for us at times. But let's see what this goes on to say here. That's some interesting commentary. They shall take for me a contribution. Some commentators believe that this paragraph was revealed to Moshe during the 40 days that he had been on the mountain, immediately following the revelation. And that already that time, Before the sin of the golden calf, he had been instructed to build a tabernacle in which the holy ark was to be placed that would contain the tablets. You are to take or accept my contribution. Rashi explains that this contribution consisted of 13 different types of materials. They are the following: gold, silver, copper, blue, purple, crimson yarns, fine linen, goat's hair, ram skins, skins of techashim, acacia wood, oil for incense, and oil for lighting. The princes were to supply the gemstones for the high priest gem. So you can see this was some very precious stuff that was going into the regalia of the high priest. Okay. Somewhat reminds you of what Yaakov did for Yosef, in that he made him a coat of many colors that set him apart from his brothers. So this is a very similar dynamic here that we see with the Kohen. Even the Kohanim are now a little more fancy, if you will, a little more official rather than their brothers from other tribes. This says, Vayichohu li terumah. They shall take from me a contribution. This portion had been told to Moshe during the 40 days that Moshe was on Mount Sinai. Immediately after the revelation at the mountain, in other words, before the smashing of the tablets of the golden calf episode, Elohim at that time had already told Moshe where to erect the tabernacle, and that it would house the set-apart ark. Inside the set-apart, the most set-apart place, symbolizing Elohim's presence on earth, he told him that it would contain the tablets and that the Israelites would be encamped around the tabernacle. This is what is meant in verse 8 of our verse, where Elohim described himself as residing in the midst of the people, i.e., as if surrounded by messengers as he had been in heaven, recreating that throne room. Concerning the state of affairs, David had said in Psalm 82:6, I had said, listen to this, you are the children of Elohim, all of you children of the Supreme Being. David bemoans the demotion of the Israelite people that followed the golden calf episode in the verse following. So this order that he's establishing for Israel, based on Israel giving of themselves to Yah, the gifts are only symbolic of Israel giving over themselves to the Most High. But it is to elevate Israel. We look at this word again, room, right? To have height and altitude, to exalt oneself, to elevate, to raise and lift up. Knowledge contained in waters, causing all within to rise. So this is what is causing the elevation, is when we offer Yah gifts. What are our gifts? The gifts that he has given us in the first place. We're just returning that to our Father and our King, so that we can be used properly in the temple, in the tabernacle, in the body of Mashiyach. That's what this is about. But you have to have your heart so moved, it says here in verse 2, right? It says, Daber b'nei Israel, vayikochu li terumah, me'et kol ish asher yidaberenu levo, tachochu et terumati. Right? So everyone whose heart, lavo, tachachu, whose heart is so moved. Right?
Yeah, Moray.
Yes, ma'am.
So we look at this scripture in 2 Corinthians 9.
Going there right now. Let me come to this one. 2 Corinthians 9.
I can't. I'm gonna try to see what.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, now I think maybe verse 7. I think, yeah, I'm looking. I think it's verse 7 or
Mm-hmm.
6. It might be 6.
Let each one give as he purposes in his
Yeah,
heart,
that's the
not
one.
of grief or of necessity, for Elohim loves a joyous giver. Yes, ma'am.
You
But
know
even
this.
verse 6 is important too. Go ahead,
Oh,
though. Yes, ma'am.
Go
No, go
ahead.
ahead. No, I was just
And
going to say
you
verse
can
6.
read the 6. You can read it.
It says in this, he who sows sparingly shall also reap sparingly. He who sows on blessing shall also reap on blessing. Let each one give as he purposes in his heart, not of grief or of necessity, for Elohim loves a joyous giver.
Yeah, just thinking about it as even in today's time, Yah told us he didn't he didn't give us the spirit of fear.
Mhm.
But so many people sometimes give out of fear. And it's such a terrible thing not to be able to give. Even my mother used to tell us when we were little. She said,
Mhm.
she told us close our fists. And she said, if you close your fist so tight you can't get nothing in it, you certainly can't. If you can't get nothing out it, you can't get nothing in it.
Mhm.
But being, you know, as Yah would say, to be a giver, to be a giver, of not looking toward the fact that you have to give out of fear or somebody gonna do something to you if you don't give this or you don't give that. Shaming, that's another one that people shame you into giving. When I was in the church, um, when they did that second or third round of
Oh,
the plate.
the second or third round.
Now it kind of weeds out people. And if maybe the person next to you is shamed into giving a little more. Then if you don't give, you look at people turn around and look at you. And how is that? Can you prosper out of something that's given out of fear and shame?
Right. No. Mhm. Not at all. That's sad. That's actually very sad. And that's something that, go ahead, Iman.
No,
Please
go
do.
ahead. I'm fine.
Well, I was just going to say, this is something that the scripture tells us for everyone whose heart is so moved. Like that is so important to capture relative to what this is about. Like you have to be moved to do this. You have to be moved to serve Yah. A lot of people, don't have the heart, the inclination to serve Yah in spirit and truth. Like this is so important to really capture. So
Hallelujah.
that's a great point to raise, right? He gives with a willing heart, a willing heart. Let's see what this word is here. Nadav. So Nadab and Abihu. Nadav means to incite, impel, to make willing, to volunteer, right? To impel, hence to volunteer as a soldier, to present spontaneously, to offer freely. And this is the nature of the offerings that Yah initially established for us. Everything was what you would call a free will offering. Yidabenu, lavo, tachuchu. That's the word that I need to see there. Lecha, lecha, take, get, fetch, lay hold of, seize, acquire, to buy, to be captured, to bring. So what we're dealing with here is Yidabenu Lavo, right? Everyone whose heart is so moved to bring the completion of the offerings. Aleph Tar, right? Et. Aleph Tar, Terumati. My offerings to bring the complete. Now, here's what's the beauty of this. This is Mashiach. If you're bringing to Yah what your heart is so inclined to bring, It is the fulfillment, the completion of the offerings. I wonder what they have for that. That isn't even in there. 853. A sign of the definite direct object, not translated in English, but generally preceding and indicating the accusative. 8. Impaired, contracted from case 226 in the demonstrated sense of entity. Of entity. This is always pointing to Mashiach. Anytime you see our left tall, you're seeing Mashiach. We've gone over this before. What's the verification of that? Let's do this. Let's look at this. What is the verification of that? Let me find it real quick. How are we verifying that Mashiach is that entity? All right, verse 8. It says, Ani ha'alef va'ani ha'tav. I am the Aleph and I am the Tav. So when we look at this here, let's go back and look at it. It is spelled Aleph Tav. So this is, again, the demonstrative sense of entity, properly self, but generally used to point out more definitively the object of a verb or preposition, even or namely, right? So when we look at Aleph Tav, it's a demonstrative pronoun. This primary strongly demonstrates power, which may be generally expressed by the genital, the Greek word here, but is more rare in the ancient Hebrew. But it appears, however, to have been preserved in the language of common life, and afterwards revived and made current in the later books, in the Rabbinic and in Syriac. Okay. In Hosea 10:6, it says, Gam oto, what's that? La Ashur Yubal. It shall itself, the calf, be carried into Assyria. The people and priests had already proceeded. So when we look at this here, what numbers are left tall? 853. This may be very interesting. Oh, they don't have it in here, huh? Aleph Tah, huh? Aaron, Erech, Eretz, Esh, Nashim, Assyria, Eshkol, Ashkenaz, Gilt, Asher, Grove. Nope, they don't have it. But this is imperative to understand in that this reference here being made, I'm gonna come, well, let me stay here, is in reference to Mashiach. Very important. The Aleph Tah. I am the Aleph, I am the Tah. And that's who you're bringing to Mashiach. That's who you're bringing to Abiyah. Okay. So what does this look like? Let me present it. And I had come across this earlier today in dealing with some other matters. This is the profundity of this. This is 23 through 25, 23 through 28. We've gone over this before. It says each in his own order. Mashiach, the first fruits. What did you bring the first fruits? What are the first fruits? What do you do with the first fruit? What do you do with those? in relation to Yah. What do you do with the first fruits?
You
You
offer them up.
offer it to him. Right.
They're gifts. They're gifts. Each in his own order. Mashiach the first fruits, then those who are of Mashiach at his coming. Then the end, when he delivers up the reign to Elohim the Father. You're bringing everything back to Yah. Everything comes back to Yah. So the Messiah delivers up the reign to Elohim the Father. When the Mashiach has brought everything to naught, all rule and all authority and power. For Mashiach has to reign until Mashiach has put all enemies under his feet. The last enemy to be brought to naught is death, for he has put all under his feet. The Father has put everything under the Son's feet. But when he says all are put under him, it is clear that he, the Father who put all under him, the Son, is accepted. The Father will never be beneath the Son. Father is above all. And when all are made subject to him, the Father, then the Son himself shall also be subject to him, the Father, who put all under him, in order that Elohim be all in all. So this even refutes, like, and the reason I came across this because someone was talking about the Trinity doctrine. I'm like, they are not the same. Here it clearly shows that the Son is subject to his Father. The Son is subject to his Father. He is not his Father. His Father dispatched him. His Father even created him. Because the Father is not even the word. It says Elohim is the word. It doesn't say El Elyon is the word. But this is where it goes back to what it said as we just read here, in that all of us are children of Elohim. You are the children of Elohim. All of you are children of the Supreme Being. Because we're all made one in this. This is what that tabernacle is even pointing to, the oneness that exists between us all. And this is the beauty of it. But we're pretty much in three particular tiers. That doesn't mean it's a hierarchy, though. It means that our class, our grade is different. The quality of our content is different. Some of us are copper, which has its role. You can only come so far into the temple, though. The silver can only go so far as well. And then you have the gold, which can go into the Holy of Holies. But this is the people. The copper represents the people. Silver represents the priesthood. Gold represents the Kohanim. Same thing. Crimson, Adam, which is like blood. It represents the people. Purple represents the royalty, or the those who are more esteemed. And then, of course, blue represents the heavenly, which is the Kohanim. Chalet, what's that? Va Argaman, Va Holot, Shani, Vashesh, Azim. Right? So this is what this is all symbolizing here. Similar, very similar. Blue, purple, and crimson. Okay? But we've covered this before. I want to look this up. Copper, that's interesting. Let me look up this copper. The brass. So some use brass, some use the word copper. Nachshet. Nachashet. So this is a word interesting. Nachosha. Copper or bronze. Hence something made of metal, coin, a fetter, figuratively base, brazen, brass, chain, copper, fetter. Some say it's also filthiness and steel. This is just representative of the common man. Copper or bronze made from copper ore. Nachusha, copper. 5153, nachush, which means brass. Comes from the word nachash, which means an enchantment. This is the word for serpent. Very interesting. This is where the serpent comes from, a whisperer, the serpent. This is what serpent's name was. And so We see this being converted, though. This is a convertible alloy. When we look at, that's why it's so interesting that we looking at copper, Akraya. uh, let's see. Let's come here. Biblical symbolism of copper. Prosperity, strength, judgment, and human nature. Human nature. So that again lets us know when you're dealing with copper, that is you're reading in here, verse 3, when it talks about the copper, those are just the nominal typical Israelite. Again, the silver is representative of the priesthood, and gold is where you have the Kohanim. So it's very interesting how you can see all this connected. Um, Copper symbolizes prosperity and good fortune. Sometimes used to represent perfect human nature, right? The nature of man who was created in the image of Elohim. So the Hebrew word for copper is nachosheth. It was used for many purposes, including chains, pillars, lavers, temple vessels, mirrors, helmets, and spears. Most copper in the Holy Land came from the Timna Valley in Wadi Arba, near Eilat, modern Israel. Okay. So then when we look at the benefits of copper, it's an essential trace mineral that plays crucial roles in various bodily functions. Some benefits of copper: enhances iron absorption. Copper is essential for the absorption and utilization of iron, which is vital for red blood cell production. It supports bone health. It contributes to the formation and maintenance of strong bones by supporting collagen synthesis and bone mineralization. It boosts the immune function. Copper is involved in the production of white blood cells, which are essential for fighting infections. It promotes brain and development. It's necessary for the development and function of the nervous system, including brain health. It has antioxidant properties. As an antioxidant, it helps protect cells from damage caused by free radicals. It regulates blood pressure. It can help regulate blood pressure by supporting the production of enzymes involved in blood vessel function. It improves cardiovascular health. It may contribute to maintaining healthy blood vessels and reducing the risk of cardiovascular diseases. It aids in digestion. It helps break down the absorption of nutrients from food. It supports skin health by involving the production of collagen and elastin, which are essential for maintaining healthy skin. It promotes even plant growth. It's an essential nutrient for plants, contributing to their health and disease resistance. It's important to note that excessive copper intake can be harmful. You want to consult that physician to make sure it's all moving on. But it's good for energy here. You can see it's good for energy. It helps with all that. Now, when we look at the benefits of silver, which is redemption, symbolic of redemption, it has antimicrobial activity, which can prevent the growth of bacteria, viruses, and fungi. It has led to its use in wound dressing, medical devices, and water purification systems. It also has antioxidant activity. It can help in wound healing. And colloidal silver is a suspension of silver nanoparticles in water. It's been marketed as an alternative medicine for various conditions, including infections, arthritis, and even cancer. Okay, so there are some reactions that can occur if it's overtook as well. Excuse me. But if you look at the biblical symbolism of silver, you're dealing with redemption, of course, wealth and purity. The money paid for atonement of sins was silver. The refining of silver symbolizes the purification of sins. Okay. Silver was wealth. It was currency, and it was a prominent part of commercial trade. King Solomon's wealth, including silver, represented divine favor and prosperity. It was used to decorate the tabernacle and the Jerusalem temple. It represents purity. The Most High's words were as pure as silver refined 7 times. It represents the righteous king who brings divine light into the world, but also can mean betrayal as well. But it symbolizes moral lessons, spiritual truth, and abundance. The refining of silver can represent the testing of people's hearts. It can also symbolize the brightness of a dove's wings. And as we look lastly at gold, what are the symbolisms of gold in the scriptures? It symbolizes wealth, power, and holiness, not just redemption, right? So, as copper represents the pure nature of man in the image and likeness of Elohim, silver represents the redeemed nature of man, gold represents set apartness, the holiness of man, and the power as well. It's also a symbol of Elohim's creation and presence. It is used to symbolize something or someone of worth, dignity, and value. It's compared to acquiring knowledge, wisdom, and faith. It's used to symbolize the splendor of heaven. Gold is used to also symbolize earthly riches, wealth, and power. Symbolize the Israelites also relative to spiritual danger in terms of if it's misused. But holiness, Elohim is used to symbolize holiness, or gold is used to symbolize holiness and divine presence. It's associated with El's assigned priests. The refining of gold is used as a figure for great purity or a test. Gold's purity and the process of refining it are used metaphorically to ascribe spiritual refinement and purity. Gold is used in the Old Testament symbols of the Messiah, which is the golden ark and the golden lampstand. Now, this is where it gets very profound when you look at the benefits of gold, health-wise. Gold health benefits: anti-inflammatory, anti-aging, improved circulation, body temperature regulation, enhance mental well-being. When you consume gold, you can improve your digestion. You can also enhance your cognitive function, your immune support, and antioxidant properties. If you wear gold, it can improve circulation, reduce inflammation, balance body temperature, and enhance well-being. They have some different gold infused there. Spiritual benefits of wearing gold: amplification of positive energy, connection to the divine, protection against negative energy, balancing the chakras. Okay. Energy benefits: improve energy flow, stress relief, enhance mental clarity, emotional well-being. And it's about being mindful of this stuff. It's about being mindful of this so that we can take advantage of those benefits. But this is what Israel's role is supposed to be unto the entire world. These are the things we're supposed to do for humanity, for ourselves first, for our families, for our communities, right? For our nation, but ultimately for the entire world. But these gifts that we're bringing for the construction of this tabernacle are to bring forth the presence of Yah on earth. So that's the purpose of this. So when we're just looking at people, why are they bringing that? That's the question. Why are they bringing these gifts, these terumot? Is in order to make the presence of Yah manifest on earth. And it's teaching you that if we're just hoarding and holding on to things for our own good, it's never going to suffice. It will not achieve the desired result of the presence of Yah on earth. We have to give. We have to contribute. We have to have our hearts so inclined and moved to provide for the greater good. That is counterintuitive, but that is human nature at its finest. Okay. Any thoughts, comments, questions before we move on? So blue, purple, and crimson are also relative to that. Then you have fine linen, goat's hair, ram skins, dolphin skins, and acacia wood. One thing we talked about last year about the acacia wood, it represents the incorruptible nature of the holy ones. Because acacia is a very resilient tree. Of acacia wood. Sturdy, abundant, and durable. Um, but it really, we talked about last year, deals with durability and resilience, but it also deals with incorruptibility. That's something we dealt with. And that's something that we deal with in First Corinthians 15, where we have to put on the incorruptible. But this has to be our nature. This has to be what is on our inside. We cannot be compromised, incorruptible, and have to be incorruptible so that we can receive that gold overlay. That's what the ark was made from. The ark was made from acacia wood. In the Bible, acacia wood's incorruptibility and resilience symbolize purity and endurance, which are fitting qualities for objects used in worship because it's pointing to us what we are to be. The Ark of the Covenant was made of acacia wood and overlaid with gold. The acacia wood represented humanity, while the gold symbolized divinity. The acacia wood was used in the construction of the tabernacle, and its furnishings highlighted its importance and symbolic value. The acacia tree was known for medicinal purposes and was pierced to release healing resin, just as Yeshua was pierced for our healing. The acacia tree's evergreen quality reflects the human spirit, the immortal part of us which can never die. Acacia wood was also the main tree available during the wilderness journey. Its density and strength made it ideal for a structure that would endure for generations. The biblical acacia belongs to the genus Mimosa and is identical with the Acacia sial or the Acacia tortilis. Okay. So it's beautifully the Shittim or acacia wood was a hard, incorruptible, and indestructible wood which grows in the Sinai desert. It beautifully portrays the humanity of the Messiah who came from a root out of dry ground and was sinless in his human nature. So we're dealing with these particular symbols and these particular uh, elements and species and these commodities that are brought for the construction of the tabernacle. They're symbolic of our properties that we are to have as well, right? Oil for the light. We know what oils are. What's the purpose of oil? It's for being anointed, it's for being the light of the world, right? This is where Mashiyach comes from. Spices for the anointing oil. What is the symbolism of spices? This is going to be interesting. Spices symbolize luxury, abundance, worship, purity, healing, and divine presence, often used in religious practices such as anointing oils and incense. So you can see here, um, they have sacrificial meaning, giving something precious to someone, in honor, to connect with the divine, creating a sense of connection with the divine. Interior truth, something that is an internal good, right? So this is something that deals with aromatic smell, which is the purity as well. I see your hand, Elkanah, your microphone, my brother. Try it again. Can't hear you. Muted now, my guy. I can't hear you. Can you all hear me?
I can't hear.
Yes, man. I can't hear him either. Can't hear you, my brother.
It looked like his mute button still on.
It was. Yeah, his hand's down. He's trying to get on. He's trying. Okay, when you come on, we'll just go ahead and get you going. So those are what the spices symbolize. Okay. Spices were important. Lapis lazuli. Lapis lazuli we see is what was the techelet. That's what the seat were made from, the color of the seat rather. Techelet, the lapis lazuli. Lapis lazuli is a powerful stone. So here we go. Gemstones called shoham. That's really that what we're telling you. These two were affixed to the apron-like garment of the high priest, known as ephod, as well as the gemstones to be inserted high priest's breastplate choshen. Onyx stones, these and the jewels which follow were required for the breastplate and the epaulets of the garments of the high priest. How precisely did this work? The two onyx stones were affixed each to one of the shoulder pieces of the ephod. The stones collectively described as Avni Maloim, jewels to be placed within the 12 settings provided for them on the breastplate of the high priest. These jewels are referred to euphemistically on numerous occasions in the scriptures, perhaps best known for example being Psalm 113, 5 and 6. Who though enthroned on high, who though enthroned high, sees what is below, and who sees what is in heaven and what is on earth. You find an onyx stone mentioned in Exodus 28:20, where it is one of the jewels on the breastplate of the high priest. I don't know if there's much else in this about the lapis lazuli, but the thing about it, let's go take a look at this. Lapis lazuli. It's associated with the divine, mentioned in Job, Exodus, Isaiah, Ezekiel, believed to be the stone of the Virgin Mary, they say here. The significance of the stone, it resembles to the night sky, led its association with the divine in the ancient Near East. Its visual appearance is described as resembling the night sky, the pyrite particles resembling stars, of the calcite bands resembling galaxies. Lapis lazuli was highly valued in ancient times and was used for jewelry, ornamentation, seals, amulets, and inlaying. Egyptian blue paint was made from finely ground lapis. The blue stone of the throne, they call it here. This is what lapis looked like. After the sealing of the covenant, Moshe and other elders of Israel ascended Mount Sinai, and it was there they saw Elohim. It's hard to imagine what such an experience would feel like, seeing the Most High of creation with human eyes. Their description of the scene is revealed in the books of Shemot. Their description of the scene included under his feet was something like a pavement made of lapis lazuli, as bright blue as the sky. Often called the stone of the sky for its brilliant azure hue, lapis lazuli has long been admired and prized from ancient civilizations to modern-day jewelers. Lapis lazuli is one of the precious stones mentioned numerous times in the scripture. It is included in the description of Elohim's throne, and according to some scholars, it is the stone on which the Most High wrote the Ten Commandments. While researching the stones, it was noticed that some translations mention sapphire, and some others mention lapis lazuli in place of sapphire. So they are almost interchangeable, but lapis is pretty much what was used to represent the throne of Elohim as well. So very important here. Very, very important. So let's take a look at one more thing. The benefits of lapis lazuli. It promotes emotional healing by encouraging self-awareness, honest self-expression, and relieving stress, while also enhancing intellectual abilities, boosting creativity, facilitating spiritual growth by stimulating the third eye chakra, which is correlated in color to, leading to deeper intuition and clarity of thought. It is often associated with promoting inner wisdom and truthfulness. It has emotional healing, benefits, enhance intuition, intellectual clarity, creativity boost, stress relief, spiritual growth, communication skills, balance, and harmony. Okay, so this is what the lapis lazuli stone has is representing here. Other stones as well. They say Genesis 2:2. What are you talking about in Genesis 2:12? So these are the Shoham stones. The lapis lazuli is the Shoham. Interesting. Okay. So they interchanged the lapis lazuli with Shoham. We talked about how last year the Shoham stone is correlated in thought to the name Moshe. It's spelled Shin K Mem. Moshe is spelled Mem Shin He. It's also correlated to Hashem, which is a uh, moniker also for the name of our Father and our King, which is spelled K Shin Mem. And so these are thought patterns that are associated. And remember, associative thought is so important relative to how we connect our minds with Yah and into truth, into the oneness of all things. Those three letters also are relative to Shin K Mem, which is Shlomo Hamelech. We know Shlomo was the King Solomon, the most wise of all kings, it is said. So there's a lot of different connections and correlations there. It's also related to Shemesh, which is the name for the sun, which gives life and light to the earth as well. So there's many different correlations that the Shoham stone has. Okay. You see Shoham right here, right? Avni Shoham. Avni Malo'im La Afod La Ephod La Choshen, right? So this is for the Choshen, the breastplate, the ephod, and the Choshen. Okay. That's what these stones were for. So now it says, Ba'asuli mikdash, Vashachanti ba'tocham. Right? So let them make me a sanctuary, mikdash, Vashachanati, right? This is the sanctuary of holiness, a dwelling place of, excuse me, a tabernacle, a sanctuary, so he can dwell amongst us. Shachanati. So this is the dwelling of Yah within the people, right? Within the people. But Mikdash is so important. Let's take a look at this word here. What verse was that? 8. Verse 8. Mikdash.
Testing, testing. Can you hear me now?
There you go. I got you now.
Can y'all hear me?
Come on. Yes, sir. Come
Okay,
on with
man.
what you was going to share, brother.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hey, man, something going on with this mic part of it. And but if we could go back, man, when it said something when you was breaking down the location, and then I noticed something there. It said something about the skins of the dolphin.
Say it one more time.
Did I see that right about a dolphin? Back in the scripture. Yeah, when you talk about when you breaking down.
Dolphin
Yeah.
skins. Mm-hmm.
Man, where in the world would they find dolphin skins at this particular? Was this something supposed to be added later?
Well, they just crossed the sea not too long, so the Sea of Reeds is not far from them. The Mediterranean Sea is not far from them either.
Right,
And
but
so,
dolphins don't dwell along the shore. So where would they, unless did they have ships at this time to where they could go out and fish for dolphins?
more than likely, more than
Uh,
likely.
yeah, that was kind of, when it stuck out like a dolphin. Where in the world would they find a dolphin that they in the middle of the desert?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they had plenty of time to do a lot of different things as well. So, I mean, it stands to reason that there was something they could have possibly done. Undeniable.
unless,
Never thought of it like that though, but yeah.
now we do know that Miss Wright, that were seafaring people, uh,
Hmm.
because there is some suggestions that they have made it over here, long before what we now know is like when they say that
Hmm.
Southern America. What's his name?
Hmm.
What's his name?
Some say sealskin, so some would say seals.
Now I can understand the seal, but what was the guy's name that they said came over here first? Christopher Columbus.
Mhm.
Yeah, but we do know. Can you hear me, man?
Yeah, I can hear you.
But we do know that there were Mizrahites that made it. They believe that Mizrahites made it over here uh, long
They were
before.
Israelites too,
Yeah, and Israelites long before.
long before Columbus.
Yeah, yeah. So I was wondering if that's where they picked up those skills to maybe to get a golfer, but we do know that there's fields that are around that area. So you thinking it might be
Hmm.
fields rather than a dolphin?
Right. So here's a good little insight. It says the
Okay.
skins of the Takash. This is what that word is, Takash. I'm sorry, that's not Takash Dugong. Is that Dugong? Yeah, so that wasn't it actually. Um, let's see. Farad Elim Modamin. Oh, that was it. Okay, let me go back to that because that was very interesting. Let's see. So what they said was a free roaming beast. Let me take a look. Okay. The skins of the Takash. The Takash was some kind of free roaming beast. Our sages in Shabbat 28 are of the opinion that the Takash was an animal which existed only during that generation and had a single horn on its forehead. Its whole function was to have its skin serve as one of the coverings of the tabernacle. Apparently, the color of the skin was so beautiful that it was not to be used again for secular purposes, so the El allowed this animal to become extinct as soon as it had fulfilled its purpose. Our sages on the same folio explained that the fact that it had a horn on its forehead was proof that it was a ritually pure animal. According to our tradition, the ox offered by Adam as a sacrifice also had only a single horn on its forehead. This is based in Psalm 69:32 that will please Yah more than oxen, the bull with the horn and hooves. The singular of the word keren, horn, means that a particular bull had only one horn. Although the vowel pattern under the word macheren suggests more than one, the absence of the letter yod suggests that Dawid speaks about a single horned bull. At any rate, unless the Takash had been ritually pure, none of its parts would have qualified for use in the tabernacle. We have a strong allusion to this in the word of Exodus 13:9, who says, so that what goes into your mouth should conform to the Torah of Yah. Seeing that the Takash had so many colors, Onkelos translates Susugana, proud of its being multicolored. So whatever it was, they used the word dolphin here, but whatever it was a very beautiful animal. It had a nice color skin.
Hey, can you do me a favor? Something came to mind when you brought that up. What's the name of that whale that has a real long tusk on it?
What's the name of the whale that has a long horn?
Yeah, isn't there a whale or a dolphin or something like that that has a
It
real long,
is. It is
like a real long tooth or something?
a narwhal.
That's it. There it is. Now, aren't those things indigenous to that region? You think that may be what it is?
hmm That's interesting. They're carnivorous too.
Yeah,
Where do narwhals live? So they're more
the region.
Arctic Ocean, Canada, Greenland, Norway, and Russia. Mhm.
Well, that means they could have made it down toward the Mediterranean,
They
or
could
at least
have.
up in the northern part.
Hmm. They call them unicorns of the sea. Very interesting.
That may be what that thing is alluding to. Is.
It could be. It could be.
Huh.
Stay live. So one thing though I do want to come back to is understand these gifts. Whatever they are representative of us giving of our nature and our character and our properties to Yah, so that we can make sure that the presence of the Shekinah, the presence of Yah is manifest. Okay. Here it is, here, verse 8. Let them make me a sanctuary that I may dwell among them. This is what this is all about. And so as we deal with the Mikdash, verse 8, this word sanctuary, Mikdash, right? Mem waters, Kaf, holiness, the waters of holiness, and the door of Sheen. What is Sheen? Sheen is like strength. So this is a sacred place, a sanctuary, right? Um, a consecrated thing or place, especially a palace. But this is really pointing to us. We are to be that sanctuary. Unfortunately, they don't have this word in this particular word here, this dictionary, but we know that it is ultimately pointing to what we are to manifest through our temple, our vessels. Okay. And so the ark here is now being made of acacia wood. We talked about the incorruptibility, the resilience, the endurance of the acacia wood. We also are aware that it is overlaid inside and out with gold, which means our purity should both be within and without. Ima Leoria last year brought up these these rings that attach the staves to it, which means the Torah should be portable wherever we go. It's transportable. And we talked about how with a covenant, that covenant is with us wherever we go. If Yah is in our hearts, that ark is always with us. Because that is what the intent of it is. That's in fact the essence of the renewed covenant. The Berit Hadashah is that the Torah shall be written on your hearts and placed on your inward parts. That's what the fulfillment of the new covenant is. But it is transportable. It is supposed to be mobile. It's supposed to go with us when we move. But we move when it says to move. Now, this is the whole thing. It's like when they were in the wilderness, we know that they camped when the cloud was there. But when that cloud told them it was time to go, they got up and left. How faithful are we to do things of that nature, to move when Yah tells us to move, to stay still until when Yah tells us to stay still? But this goes to what Ezekiel 1 deals with. When you deal with Ezekiel 1, we know that it talks about that the wheels moved when the Spirit commanded them to move, right? And that's what this is ultimately about as well. Each could move in the direction of any of its faces. They went wherever the Spirit impelled them to go without turning when they moved, right? That's what this is all about. That's what this ark is about. This ark is like that pillar, that spirit within us that commands us to do what we are supposed to do. Inside of the ark, of course, is the pact, the agreement, the tablets, the 10 words, and then the kaporet, the lid of atonement, right? Vahasita, kaporet, zachev, zachav, tahor, amatim, right? So this is you shall make a lid, zachav, which is of gold, pure, right? Zachav is the word for gold. So this gold is to be pure, which is letting us know how we are to be pure. Well, actually, tahor is pure, and the gold is a half. And so as this is accomplished, and the cherubim are placed on the lid of it, that is the mercy seat. But that cherubim is it's like our cranium, it's like our brains. Let me see something. Mm, Behind the veil. That's not it. Which one was it? Oh, where was it? We'll talk about this shortly. Um, oh my goodness. Let's see. Man, was it this one? Nope. Uh, So I'm looking for this image. There's an image I want to show that shows how the brain, and it may be this one. And it is not. Dang it. Um, that's not it. I don't think this is it either. Mm, it shows an image where the Ark of the Covenant is like the brain. This is it. Boom, bam, bam. Right here. Okay. Okay, all right, okay. So when we look at the Ark of the Covenant, it tells us the Ark is in our head. So this is what the cherubim look like, but the cherubim wings are pretty much the sphenoid bone in our head, which hosts the pituitary gland. They are on the other sides of the pituitary gland. So these are like the wings here, right? When we look at our body, of course, the head is known as the skull or Golgotha. That's where Mashiyach was crucified, Golgotha. You can see the temple right here, right, between on the other side of on each side of our head. So the stories of the Bible really are metaphors for your endocrine system, right? We communicate with the Most High through our pituitary and pineal glands, which is the single eye. The light of the body is the eye. If therefore thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. And we know Elohim is light. So when Elohim communes with us and the pineal gland is open, it is said that a bright white light is often seen by the one who is engaged in this meditation. But when you're dealing with the wings and the lesser wings of the cherubim in your head, what you're looking at the sphenoid bone, the bone. Okay. It says, he that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says unto the churches and to the angel. Church of the Laodicean says these things are true. Amen. So Jacob called the place Peniel, which is the pineal, for I have seen Elohim face to face, and my life is preserved. So when you're looking at the cherubim that is mentioned here in Shemot, two cherubim, this is dealing with the mind. Now, the beaten work the hammered work is about the study that we put into our minds. So when you're dealing with the hammering, you're dealing with the study, the reshaping and the forming of the mind, right? The transformation that takes place through the intensive studies that we engage. Okay. And so this is how we do that. And then, of course, we cover it with gold. That is the purity of thoughts. It's the purity of our worship as well, dedication of our lives to this particular life. And so they go back to the cherubim. The cherubim are the flaming messengers of Elohim. In fact, let me take a look at this here. Take a look at this word, cherub. Cherub. Cherubim. 3742. If we're in here, that would be so beautiful. 3742. And it is cherub. All right. We're going to come back to that. So cherub here, they say an imaginary figure here. This is not the root word, but it doesn't have a root. An angelic being, the guardians of Eden, those who flank the throne of Elohim, as an image form hovering over the Ark of the Covenant. Also, they are the chariot of the Most High. When we look at the word in its inner meaning, it means to plow, to cultivate, improvement of messages. The four cherubim vary in expressions and faces corresponding to the four sections of the Torah. You have the man, which is Reuben, the ox, which is Ephraim, the lion, which is Yehuda, and the eagle, which is Dan. These four stand at the gates of Torah to cultivate the messages of light. So these are what the brain does, right? And so it also means to select, elect, pick, and give preference. This is what the mind does. Vessels of knowledge that minister for development. This is what Kerub means. The vessels of knowledge that minister for development. Also to initiate the productiveness of labors and energy use. So when we're dealing with the cherubim, you're dealing with the cultivation of these messages that Torah extend. And why are they ones covering the lid of the Ark of the Covenant? Is because that is where the mind is. That's symbolic of our minds. Again, looking at this image, you can see that it is only a representation of the mystery of how Yah is to indwell our bodies. The tabernacle is a reference for us to understand how our bodies are to be the temples of the Most High. And so as we look to dedicate our life to Yah as his shrine, as his tabernacle, well, then we have to understand how our members are made as was shown in this pattern, which is what Moshe was shown to make it according to the pattern that he was shown on the mountain. Exactly. Right. So we have to understand how to, again, dedicate our members to Yah. All this is a part of the process. And this is where it says Yah will meet with us. There I will meet with you, and I will impart to you from above the cover, from between the two cherubim that are on top of the Ark of the Pact, all that I will command you concerning the Israelite people. So this is where Yah's meeting place, in fact, is within us, which is why it's so important for us to keep our thoughts pure, to keep our mind, to be meditative, to be studious of the word, to understand how Yah is to communicate with us in spirit and truth through the word. But it lets us know, again, getting to the form of it, and the shape of it, and the quality and substance of it. The acacia wood is symbolic of incorruptibility. It is symbolic of of resilience and endurance. It is symbolic of that which is durable. And then the gold lets us know of the purity that is also to be established from that as well. So as we deal with this in its entirety, we're seeing how all of this indeed comes together. All of this is correlated and connected to those matters relative to how we are to dedicate our bodies into this temple reality. Any thoughts, comments, questions so far? Reflections? We good? We clear? I'll say Shabbat Shalom to those on YouTube. Hallelujah. So this arc is very important. Again, this is relative to the mind. I did want to come here because what we're looking at ultimately, when you're looking at the Mishkan, the Slika, the Mishkan, the tabernacle, and what that which is behind the veil is so important to understand because what we're dealing with now is the earliest formation of the structure, the threefold structure of holiness. Okay. So we know that which is behind the veil is the Holy of Holies. That was only the place one person could go once a year, the high priest. So that's a level, that's a layer, right? So there's levels to this. Just in front of the veil where stood the menorah, you had the table of showbread and the altar of incense was the holy place. That's where the Kohanim officiate. Okay, so that was another level of consciousness, lower. And so this is where like silver and then gold were also present there. But then in the outer courtyard, outside of the tabernacle proper, you had just the courtyard where the altar of copper was, the altar of bronze, so to speak. And that was where the common person can go. So we first saw this with the Mount Sinai setting, where the foot of the mountain was where all the people were. You had the next level of the mountain where the 70 elders, Nadab, Abihu, Aharon, and Moshe were able to go, as well as Yahushua ben Nun. And then Moshe was the only one who could go to the peak of Mount Sinai, which was the Holy of Holies. And so this is what we're seeing. But now what Yah's doing is showing Israel what is to go inside so that we can actually be established as the tabernacle of Yah. And so when we look at now what is being brought into the holy place, dealing with the ark first, behind the veil, again, our mind. Now you have the menorah, overlaid with gold as well, made from acacia wood. Initially, actually, the menorah was pure gold. And that was beaten into shape as well. You have the tables. Let's see. And we have the lampstand, the menorah, the table of showbread, and then we have the altar of incense as well. So these are very symbolic of other elements relative to our body as well. When we look at this article here, it tells us that the floor plan of the temple reveals the human form. It says the key to the temple's or tabernacle secrets is in the floor plan and layout of its furnishings. The plan or pattern, or in Hebrew, tabnit, which has a root word of banah, which means son, the pattern of the structures and their furniture is mentioned in 1 Chronicles 28, 11, 12, 18, and 19, as well as Exodus 25, 9, and 39 and 40. Tamnid is also translated as design, structure, figure, form, likeness, and shape. The Mishkan was the precursor of the temple, the Mikdash. Tamnid generally refers to the form of something. King David received divine inspiration for the form or plan or pattern of the temple, and before him at Sinai, Moshe heard Elohim's verbal instructions for the form of the Mishkan. Tamnit is related to Bana, which means to build a structure or house, but also to raise children, since in the scriptures a house may refer to a family. Thus, in Ruth 4:11, Rachel and Leah, the two wives of Jacob, who was later renamed Israel, are called the builders of the house, the family of Israel. This is how Tamnit directly and indirectly relates to buildings, ordinary houses, the house of Elohim, the temple, and humans, and our structure, form, and figure. So this is when it becomes evident that this quote considers that the ultimate manifestation of the kingdom of Elohim on earth, and that it has always been the intent of Yah to indwell the people of Israel, which harkens back to the book of Genesis and the forming of Adam. In fact, we see in the second chapter of the book of Genesis that with Adam, it was the desire of Yah in spirit to indwell his body, to give him abundant life in his soul, right? And so that is what that all comes down to in that note as well. And so with the tabernacle, we can see that there are various representations here, right? The menorah. Let's look at these representations, what they symbolize. This is an article called Behind the Veil. It says, it is in Mashiyach Yahushua that we are able to peer behind the veil, where we discover a most sacred and precious symbolism of the vessels and their relation to our worship of the Most High. Let us now consider the sacred vessels found in the sanctum and inner sanctum of the tabernacle and temple, for the purpose of understanding their functionality and representative relationship to our physiological makeup, to our body. What's the design and the pattern of our body in relationship to the tabernacle that we're reading of this particular week? According to the article Parashat Terumah, the following is to be meditated upon. The menorah. The candelabra has two main components, the central shaft and the 6 branches that issue from the central one, 3 on each side. The parallel in the human body is the spine, from which there issue to the 12 sides, to which from there issue to the sides 12 pairs of ribs. The candelabra represents the part of the spine that is included in the holy, at least from the lower neck vertebra to the lower rib vertebrae. The main shaft of the candelabra represents the spine. The upper pair of branches and the cup from which they issue represent the 4 upper rib vertebrae and their ribs. The middle pair of branches and their cup represents the 4 median. The lower pair and its cup represent the 4 lower ones. This correspondence is sufficient for the 7-branch candelabra, would represent that part of the spine. The table of showbread, opposite the candelabra, there stood the golden table. Its vessels were placed in 2 ma'arakot, or orders, one against the other, 12 loaves of bread, 6 against 6. These orders also represent the ribs, like the candelabra, only that here each parallel loaves represent 2 pairs of ribs. If that is so, it is reasonable that the form of each loaf was like the figure of the letter Kaf, square or round, whose 2 hands are turned toward the center of the table. According to the rabbinical tradition, the loaves of the table were being baked this way still in the second temple. The table itself likely represents the stomach. This may be evidenced by the relations of its dimensions, which are close to those of the stomach and its load, the loaves of bread, which is the basic human food. And of course, dealing with the bread, we have to digest the bread of life. We have to metabolize that so that we become that which we eat. And as the table of showbread was there, it does represent the 12 tribes in their messianic manifestation, as also the bread of life as well. Remember, in John 6, Mashiyach Yeshua says that Moshe did not give you the true bread that came down from heaven. He says, I am the true bread who comes down from heaven. That's why he was telling them to eat his flesh, which is the bread, and drink his blood, which is the wine. Not literally, of course, but metaphorically, symbolically, understanding that if you consume Torah and you receive the mysteries of Torah, which he gave to his taught ones, that you would also become messianic. That's the mystery of what he's dealing with. The incense altar, the small gold-plated altar, is the heart. His sweet-smelling soap depicts the prayer and the spiritual life of the individual. The stairway, it represented the neck and throat. Okay, that how we elevate through words, we create through words. And we dealt with the Ark of the Covenant as the Holy of Holies, which represents the head, the Ark of Yah, which is the most important and holy of all the vessels of the tabernacle, was the only vessel that was placed inside the Holy of Holies. The Ark of the Most High thus represents the central organ that resides in the head or the brain. The relations of height, width, and length of the ark, which are 1 by 0.6 and 0.6, correspond well to the dimensions of the average brain. The cherubim on the lid are the 10 2-cubit tall cherubs of the gold-plated olive wood form temple man's eyes. Okay, and so all of this here corresponds quite well to our body. And so this is what we're actually looking at. What Yah is doing through his Torah is revealing to us the mystery of becoming a messianic people, using structures and points of reference for us to understand how the functionality of our bodies are supposed to work. Purity levels, the work that goes into it, all of this stuff is very symbolic so that we're able to become the reality that Yah has called and set aside from the beginning, the pattern that he has provided for us. Any thoughts, comments, questions? All right, so let's move on to our next chapter, 26. Now we're dealing with the coverings, right? This is our flesh. Okay, so this is also symbolic as well. But this is how everything is to become one. It's knit together and joined so that it becomes one. This is the same dynamic that our body has, right? We have all this stuff underneath our, curtain, so to speak, that allows for it to function together as one. The flesh is what holds everything together, what unites and joins everything into one singular body. All the bones, all the sinews, all the arteries, the veins, the organs, the muscles, the tissue, even the chemicals, right? The fluids and whatnot are all contained inside of our flesh. And that's what those tents represent. Okay. And it's interesting. I was listening to this guy by the name of Rod Hayes a couple of weeks ago. And he was saying there were some ages when our skin color was different. In fact, when you look at some ancient depictions of people in particularly the Medu Neter, you have Egyptian writings, but also in the Vedas, the Bhagavad Gita, and things of that nature, you will see people who are blue and green. And the reasoning for that was because the elements in the air were different. Iron is much more predominant now, so we look more like a copper-like people. But at points of time when magnesium was more prominent in the atmosphere, we were more bluish and more greenish. Okay, and so you can see even people who are today like dark blue, dark black, they're like blue-black people. You can still see that today. But then you even have people who what they have called Mongolian. But you've heard a baby come out with a Mongolian booty, and their booties are somewhat green. There was one time when that pigment was more prominent amongst people. That was a more normal type of pigment for people based on the elements that were more available to us in the atmosphere and the way it merged with our skin, with our body, and the chemistry of our chemical composition as well. But I say that because when you look here, you look at the colors of this particular tabernacle as well. There was
Yeah,
different colors that were
that is
present. Go ahead.
so true, Moray. I was thinking about the babies when they are born, a lot of them anyway. I know
Mm-hmm.
mine had the behinds that were golden, green, bluish.
Mm-hmm.
And they stayed, for a few couple of years.
Yep.
I
Yep.
never thought about that. Wow.
Yes, ma'am. And that's based on our genetic makeup. But in one point in time, our blood, due to what we were interacting with and breathing in the air, um, it gave us that particular melanated complexion.
I remember they had this white guy, but this was years ago, and he was
Hmm.
taking some vitamins.
Silver.
It was silver, and it turned him
Yep.
blue.
Yep. Yep. He looked like a Smurf.
Yeah.
Yep. He took too much silver, and that's what silver will do to you to turn you blue. Mm-hmm. Sure enough, will. Yes, sir. So as we deal with these class and these loops and everything like that, the connections, all this is relative to like, aspects of our body. I don't really have the actual meaning of the loops relative to our body, but it does correspond. There are relationships there that connect us with this matter here. Let's see. They may explain it. Hmm. They may go into it, they may not. Let's see if I can find something here. The mystery. Well, he only has one reference there. All right. The human body is divided into three parts: the head, the most aristocratic part of the body, the middle section, which incorporates the heart, and the lower section of the body, the most mundane of all, symbolizing the three sections of the Mishkan, the Kadosh, Kadoshim, the Holy of Holies, the Kadosh, the holy place, and the Chatzer, the courtyard. So our bodies, head, the Holy of Holies, the torso, which is the holy place, and then the organs on down is the courtyard. So those are the three layers or three levels in our body, right? So you got to correspond that. So these three worlds, also the world of angels, the world of luminaries, and this world, the All Hail Yeshua, the body of Yeshua, or the sanctuary of Yeshua, lists all parts of the Mishkan: 48 beams, 100 silver sockets, 10 coverings, 100 loops, 50 golden hooks, 11 coverings, 100 loops, 50 copper hooks, 15 poles, 96 rings, one curtain, four beams, four golden hooks, one curtain, five beams, five hooks, five copper sockets, one aron, which is the ark, one lid for the aron, the caporet, one cherubim, one shulchan, one menorah, one gold altar, one copper altar, one washing station. These added together equal, look at that, 613. There are 613 mitzvot. The positive commandments do, numbering 248, are equivalent to the number of organs in the human body. The 365 negative commandments do not do are equivalent to the number of blood vessels in the human body. The 613 mitzvot relate to the 613 physical areas in the body, as a hakam, a rabbi, can analyze whether a limb is affected by an adversely conducted mitzvah. So a good rabbi can analyze which part of the body is affected by someone who is not carrying out the mitzvot properly. So man has 248 limbs. They are as follows: 30 bones in the feet, 6 in each toe, then 10 bones in the ankle, 2 in the lower leg, 5 in the knee, 1 in the thigh, 3 in each hip. There are 11 pairs of ribs. The hand has 30 bones, 6 in each finger. There are 2 bones in the forearm, 2 in the elbow, 1 in the upper arm, 4 in each shoulder. This yields a sum of 102 bones on each side for a total of 204. Besides these, there are another 48 limbs. These include the 18 vertebrae of the spine, 9 bones in the head, 8 in the back of the neck. Say 8 in the neck. There are also 6 in the gateway to the heart, which is the chest. Another 5 at the outside orifices. This totals 248 limbs. The Hachamim declared that there were 248 members, bones in the human body, namely 40 in the tarsal region and the foot, 2 in the leg, 6 in the knee, so on and so forth, right? The human also has 248 limbs and organs corresponding to the 248 positive commandments of the Torah, 365 connecting tissues, veins, or sinews corresponding to the 365 prohibitions of Torah. Like man, the earth is also divided into 248 parts with a head, eyes, mouth, and other limbs. It also has 365 arteries. Each time a person observes a commandment, he sustains one of his limbs as well as a part of the world. Each limb announces, observe a commandment with me, and so that I will live long. It is for this reason that man is called a microcosm. He is a miniature universe having in him everything that exists in the world. Nowhere is it written which mitzvah corresponds to which item in the body. This appears to be a secret Zadachim have, that the righteous have. When something goes wrong physically, it is because a mitzvah or group of mitzvot are not being performed properly. The power that should be flowing to that limb is subverted. The power that should be coming from the soul, the Torah, into the physical body, mitzvot, is not flowing properly. The body, writes Hakam Kuli, has 248 limbs, 365 blood vessels. The soul has exactly the same number of limbs and blood vessels, but these are spiritual rather than physical. Each part of the soul is in its counterpart in the body and is strongly bound to it. I mean, this is so important to understand how all this is connected. And so this is why when we deal with the tabernacle, this particular matter, we're looking at the greatest gift that Yah has given us, which is our body. And what we're doing is now returning that to Yah in the condition and the quality that he gave it to us. Like, that's the whole key. I'm going to put this in the link here so y'all can have this. This is a great link to have. So y'all can have that there. That's a great link to share. And so as we deal with, this mystery, I mean, this is so important for us to really connect and understand how Yah is moving, in us and through us, and is desiring to indwell us as his tabernacle. And so this is what this here is dealing with here, relative to these loops and everything. It's our body. Anything from 26 that stand out to anybody? All right, as we get to chapter 27. Dealing with the altar. So now, we dealt with the holy place, we dealt with the Holy of Holies. Now we're coming to the outer part of it. Okay. And so this is now dealing with the courtyard aspect of our bodies. So 25 deals with the Holy of Holies. 26 deals with the holy place. 27 is dealing with the courtyard. And so that even has to be.
I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
One question from back at 26. Is archaic wood still available?
Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yes,
you
ma'am.
can just where can I mean you can't buy it. Could you buy it here in the United States?
I believe there are acacia trees here. Where do acacia trees grow? Oh, didn't spell that right. Let's see where they grow in America. California, Florida, Texas, and Arizona. Arizona.
Wow. I wouldn't mind to have something built with the wood.
Hmm. Now
That's
you can, like, if you go to Amazon, I think you can buy some acacia. Let's see.
oh,
Amazon.com. Let's see what we can get for acacia. Uh, they got wood utensils, for instance. But look at the color of it too. Ooh,
isn't it beautiful? Oh, I'm gonna get me a set. And it's not that expensive. You would think it'd be
not
a
at
lot
all.
expensive.
That's beautiful. That is
Oh, I'm gonna have
beautiful.
to get some of that. Wow.
Those are beautiful.
Oh, yeah, the color is, and that's us.
Yes, ma'am. So
Wow.
these are some boxes of acacia wood here.
Oh my goodness. I would just like a few. Oh my goodness.
Hmm. Let's take a look at
I'm
some
gonna have
more.
to do some shopping after the Shabbat.
Got some pendants. Got a tree. That's an acacia pendant as well. Let's see if they got a menorah. Oh, they had a menorah. Acacia menorah pendant. Oh, let them have a menorah pendant in acacia.
Yes, they do. But I don't know if it's of the wood though, but they got a lot of pendants.
Mm. So we'll have to look that up. Look that up. We'll let that out
Yeah,
some more else.
now I know where to go looking. Toda.
Yes, ma'am. Babakasha. And so when we look at this here, you can look at like the refuse, right? So the horn, I mean the altar is made of copper and acacia wood as well, or bronze. It's overlaid with bronze, copper. But you got pails for removing its ashes. So this is all the refuse. This is the dish. This is like, the what do they call that? What we have our refuse, the stuff that we excrete, our excrement, right? So that's something that we have to do to maintain the purity. So we call this the purity of unity, right? So in maintaining this, we have to make sure that we're very sanitary, we're very pure, we're very committed to Yah and following the instructions that He has given us for upkeep of this particular gift that He has given us of the tabernacle. So He's given Israel this tabernacle as a vision, first and foremost, through Moshe, in order for Israel to not only become a united holy people, but also to have the presence of Yah amongst them. This is what the Torah is doing for us as well.
I,
It-
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, go
One
ahead.
one more
Yes,
for
ma'am.
26. I'm sorry, I'm a little slow today,
It's
but
all
I
good.
want to look at that verse at 18
Okay.
and the names of
Planks.
the names of the state. They in the Kamashi talk about the names of the south, the names of the south. They got different names
Okay.
of in the east. What do that mean?
Um, can you read what you're talking about? I'm not familiar
Okay,
with what you're
it
referring.
says it is obvious that the word and I don't know what the Hebrew word is because it's written in Hebrew is
The South.
derived. It might be. I'm not sure from
Hmm.
the shining of the sun. Oh, okay, yeah, I guess it is south and the sun and west is derived from the I guess the east, evening or setting of the sun. Ramban explains the derivation of the other names for the various directions, unlike the commonly used secular system that uses north as the primary point of reference, so that all maps have the north on top. The Torah system assigns this role to the east, as well as seen below. East is primary because it is natural for people to look toward the sun, which rises in the east, and for this reason, the east is nicknamed, and I don't, it says forward. Conversely, west is nicknamed rear because it is the back of someone facing eastward. The west is also nicknamed sea because of the Mediterranean Sea is the western boundary of Israel. The proper name of the south is, I don't know, and it is nicknamed dry, means dry, after the southern desert of Israel. Its other names is contractions of the word dwelling on high, because as one goes south from Israel, the sun is higher in the sky. North is called hidden because as one goes toward the north, the sun is less and less, and the extreme north, it does not rise at all for the part of the year. The south is also called right and the north left because they are on those sides of a person facing east, the primary direction. I don't know. I don't remember going over that.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, those directions are important. Um, and they have a lot of pertinence relative to being oriented in like righteousness. The north typically is associated with like evil, um, although in relation to Jerusalem specifically, that's where the throne of Yah is. But east is like, the point of origin, west is the point of termination, and south has its also correlations as well. Shabbat shalom, Aki Shakir. And so when you're dealing with those points of direction, they have their corresponding meanings. Let me see if I can find something better when directions. I can spell. Let's see. East. Mm, significance. I can spell significance of directions. Total. Directions hold significant symbolic meaning, often representing moral and spiritual guidance, with east typically signifying the positive direction towards Elohim, while west can represent negativity or turning away from the Most High. Specific interpretations can vary depending on context, but overall theme is using cardinal directions to illustrate the path one should follow in their life and the relationship with the Most High. The east is positive with Torah. It's associated with the rising sun, representing new beginnings, the Most High's presence, the direction one should face in prayer, as seen in the placement of the Garden of Eden in the east of Bereshit, Genesis. The west can symbolize the setting sun. It's negative. It has representations of negativity, darkness, and directions away from the Most High. Um, and so Torah uses directional language metaphorically to describe moral choices, with going right signifying following the Most High's will, going left representing straying from the righteous path. In Israelite tradition, the direction of prayers towards Jerusalem considered the east in relation to the diaspora, with the Mizrah, the plaque marking the east direction, often being placed in Israelite homes. So it does have very significant meaning in their correspondent.
So the map and stuff that they use is the map of Jerusalem. And I mean, that is that what they use? Because it says the top of, I guess, a regular map they start with north, but it starts with east. So is that what they're using to make things make sense for the Torah?
Right. East is the point of origin. So that's why it starts there, because where the sun rises in the east, everything begins out of the east.
Out of the east.
Yes, ma'am. So that is why that is the first point of origin there. Um, and that's just, the orientation and the perspective and even the spiritual wisdom that our ancestors had in using discernment in aligning and orienting ourselves directionally. And so it has very significant uh, meanings in relationship to the direction that we're going in life. So all that is very significant in relation to there. Hmm. Yeah, so directions are very important, and I'm really not prepared to get into that. Perhaps we can pick up on that midweek or something like that to get a little more
Okay.
depth into like understanding the directions. Um, and I may be a little late on Wednesday. I have a pitch to make for this cohort I'm a part of on Wednesday, actually. So I may be a little late on Wednesday.
Well, usually time if you pass 7:30, I'm asleep.
Yeah, I get it.
I
I
cry.
may
I
be.
cry.
Yes, ma'am. So we may bump to Tuesday. We'll see how we go. We'll see. So now with 27, we'll read through verse 17, but this is now dealing with the courtyard and everything relative to the outer part of the tabernacle. Um, and so um yeah, this really does capture the essence of the human body. It captures the essence of the tabernacle, the threefold dimensional reality of um you could call it um the holy of holies, the holy place, and then the courtyard. So it's like, these are the levels of holiness. Like but the courtyard of thing about the precinct of the tabernacle, the courtyard is even considered holy. There is a parable about pilgrims. Some pilgrims just make it to Israel and they've accomplished their goal. Other pilgrims make it to Jerusalem proper, but they don't come into the holy ground. You know what I'm saying? And so when they make it to Jerusalem, they feel accomplished. Some people come to the old city. They enter the gates into the old city. They feel much more accomplished. Some people get to Mount Zion and they feel like they've accomplished, other greatness as well. So you got to understand how the levels of holiness are important in our own personal journeys of life. And some people, based on, as it tells us earlier, the stirrings of their heart, or their inclinations, will lead them to that particular place. Some people may not even have a desire for that, to even like attain holiness at all. And that's where those individuals are in their life. But what we have to understand is that the gifts that Yah has given us, it is imperative that we return those to Yah. We offer those back to our Father and our King for the purpose of manifesting his presence on earth. That's what all this ultimately comes down to. Terumah, gifts, offerings, right? The sacrifices, the free will, particularly the free will sacrifices. And this is the first time we really deal with national offerings right here. But these offerings were material. But the material represents the quality and the substance and uh, uh, um, the traits, the character traits that we have to serve Yah in spirit and truth. because he wants our heart. That's what he wants. Remember, obedience is better than sacrifice. The sacrifice that he wants is our being. He wasn't really wanting to deal with the blood of goats and bulls and birds and things of that nature. That's not what Yah was looking for to be offered to him. He was looking for his people to offer themselves in spirit and truth so that he can indwell the spirit, the Shekhinah can indwell the people who are the true tabernacle, who are the true temple. And there's a oneness that we all have to strike within ourselves individually. There's a oneness we have to strike within our families. There's a oneness we have to strike with our community. There's a oneness we have to strike with our nation. Ultimately, there's a oneness we have to strike with this earth, with creation. And in so doing, that presents the conditions for Yah's presence to once again be prominent on earth. And that's when the world will be in order. But this is our mission. This is the mission of Israel, first and foremost. We are to show the world who the true and living El is. We're the children of the Most High. We are all Elohim. And the more we can understand that, the more we can move according to that, following the word of Yah, foregoing our ego, putting our egos aside, putting our personal desires aside, and understanding it's about the will of Yah, finding that desire to fulfill and fulfilling it is what creates heaven on earth. That's what creates heaven on earth. But when you have all these individuals carrying out their will, that's disharmony, that's division. You can never have harmony when everyone is doing what they want to do. You can never have harmony when souls are only fulfilling their soul's desire. It's about what Yah desires. And the more people we can get in alignment with the will of Yah, who are offering themselves to Yah as gifts, the more you will have the presence of Yah on earth. This is what this lesson is all about. This is what the purity of unity is all about. The way we become pure, the way we become incorruptible, the way we become refined, the way we become redeemed, the way we become true human beings, right? Is by doing the will of Yah, keeping the commandments of Yah, following his Torah, guarding the covenant. The way we become messianic is the same matter as well. Now, as relates to our Parsha, our Haftarah, and this is deep. This Haftarah is deep. What chapter was it? 12. This Haftarah is deep because what you will see is Yehoash, right, who did what was right in the eyes of Yah, as the priest Jehoiada instructed him. However, there was still remnants of idolatry present. The shrines where they worshipped false gods were not removed, and the people continued to offer their sacrifices at the shrines. They still mingled false worshiping with Yah. This is where we are today. And this is something that we have to actually uproot. We have to uproot the false worship. This is very indicative of our day because we don't understand the customs that have been introduced into so-called biblical culture that have nothing to do with the Torah. And this is for all. We all have to be on guard and recognize that, whether it be personal thoughts, if we have personal shrines where we're doing things that are against Torah in our own heart, or we're actually dealing with people who are also, carrying out false worship practices and bringing in false doctrines and false teachings because these shrines have not been removed and the people are still offering sacrifices at these shrines. I mean, it's dangerous. But here's the repair. He says in verse 5, All the money, current money, brought into the house of the Most High, sacred donations. Any money that someone may pay is the money equivalent of persons or any other money that someone may be minded to bring to the house of the Most High. Let the priest receive it, each from his benefactor. They in turn shall make repairs on the house wherever damage may be found. Tikkun. This is tikkun. I don't think they use the word tikkun, but this is about repairing the house.
Hey, Moray,
Yes, sir.
one thing but a shrine, a lot of times we just think about it's an idol, but I just Googled, what a shrine is. It's basically a place where people come to worship,
Mm-hmm.
usually because of a connection with a holy person or mysterious religious event or object. A shrine can also be, hold on. A shrine can also be a place that's honored because of a connection with some famous person or event.
Mm. Mm.
And we see like
Mm.
a lot of times, with the churches, they got these famous people or, you know what I'm saying? So
Yes, sir.
it kind of like goes back to what I was speaking about earlier, like
With the
making sure,
sun.
yeah, the sun, the moon, just making sure,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm saying? Because like one thing I know about, when I used to gather with a camp I used to be with, right? When we used to have our feast days, our feast, even though we was coming together to worship Yah, but it came across to me as who had the best garment on and what Hebrew brother or sister was going to perform the best song, Hebrew song, you know.
Mm.
And it's kind of like, it's almost like, you know what I'm saying? So even though we were supposed to be coming there to worship Yah, but we really wasn't
Mm.
because we was worshiping ourselves.
My goodness. And that's what we have to make sure that we're diligently being aware of in repairing. Right? 'Cause Seth, money here um is about the resources required to make the necessary transaction. You got to have the resource to make the transaction. And so for us, we know that the Torah is more precious than silver and gold. And so what was being done was not only repairing the physical structure of this particular edifice, but also the internal workings of it as well, because the people were broken. The people were broken. The people were not serving Yah fully. They were still serving these other gods. And so in repairing and beautifying the physical structure requires interior renovations as well. That's why Mashiyach called the Pharisees and scribes and Sadducees whitewashed sepulchres. You look good on the outside, but inward you're full of death and bones. And this is the problem that we face today is because there's a lot of outward worship that looks good, but inwardly the meaning of it has nothing to do with the service of Yah. It's death. And we have to return to the true instructions, the true commandments of our Father, so that we can now learn how to flow freely in the Spirit. Because that's what the Torah is doing. The Torah is just training you up so you can walk correctly, so you can have the right practice, you can have the right thoughts, you can have the right words. It's transforming you into Messiah. That's what the purpose of the Torah is to bring forth the Messiah so that you walk on earth in the image and likeness of Elohim, which is the Messiah. That's why Yah gave us the Torah and the mitzvot. And so when we're dealing with this here, Because you notice who they gave. They gave it to the priest. Why they give it to the priest? What's the role of the priest? Can someone tell me what the role of the priest is again? In Leviticus 10:10. What is the role of the priest? The Leviticus 10:10 tells us. Anybody remember?
Say that again.
Leviticus. What's the role of the priest according to Leviticus 10:10? What is the role of the priest? What do they do?
Take care of the tabernacle.
They do. They do that, literally and symbolically.
Right.
They make a distinction between the set apart and the profane, between the unclean and the clean, and they teach the children of Israel all the laws which Yah has spoken to them by the hand of Moshe. That's the role of the priest. They say that's holy, that's not. This is clean, that's not. And this is the instruction of Yah. This is the law of Yah right here. This is how you walk. That's what the Kohen and the Levi do. That's what the Kohen and the Levi do. And so, as we look at this half Torah, we see that in Yehoiah's 23rd year, the priest had not even made repairs to the house. And this is where you read in Malachi, the prophet Malachi, you see Malachi is like the priest is supposed to be the messenger of Elohim. But here it is, the priest is not doing what the priest is supposed to do. Let me go to Malachi. Unless you obey and unless you lay it to heart, there's a heart, and do honor to my name, said Yah of hosts. I will send a curse and turn your blessings into curses. Indeed, I have turned them into curses because you do not lay it to heart, right? But he goes on to say, this is the charge that he sent to Lewi in his covenant with him. Yah had with Lewi a covenant of life and well-being, which was given to him, and of reverence, which he showed me, for he stood in awe of my name. Proper rulings were in his mouth. Nothing perverse was on his lips. He served me with complete loyalty and held many back from iniquity. For the lips of a priest guard knowledge. Now keep in mind, we're a kingdom of priests. We are a kingdom of priests. Every Israelite is a priest from the beginning. The lips of a priest guard knowledge. The rulings are sought from his mouth. But he is the messenger, the malach. He is the angel of Elohim of hosts. Ki shafti kohen, yishmaru da'at, v'torah yichashu ba'pichu ki malach Adonai sevaot hu. He is the messenger. He is the angel of the mighty one of hosts, the most high of hosts. That is who Lewi is. Ki malach Adonai sevaot hu. The Torah is sought from the mouth of the priest. His lips guard knowledge. Her lips, right? Ki shafti kohen yismaru, right? Da'at. The lips of a priest are to guard knowledge. V'Torah yiv hashu ma hihu. The Torah is sought from his mouth. He is the messenger. He is the angel of Elohim, of the Most High. But what I'm trying to get us to understand is when you go to Exodus 19 and you look at the 5th and the 6th verse, Yeah, this was speaking to Lewi, but Lewi was to instruct the entire nation on how to be the kingdom of priests, a reign of priests, and a set apart nation that Israel was called to be in the first place. Remember, Israelites, we love delegating stuff. We love passing stuff off to the next person. We love following the Gentiles and not following our calling. We love deferring. Moses, you speak to us. Let not the Most High speak with us, lest we die. We love to pass something off. Give us a king like the Gentiles. You rule over us, Gideon. We don't want to be responsible. We don't want to be accountable. But that day is changing. And we're awakening. We're returning to our call, to our calling, our purpose, our identity, our nature. And the repairs are being made. The repairs are being made. And the people are now beginning to work on the house of the Most High. Not the physical house. No, not the physical house, but the house that is made without hands. That's what we're rebuilding. We're rebuilding the true temple because we are the true temple. That's the temple you see in Revelation. The bride has prepared herself. That's the temple. That's the body of Mashiyach. So let's do this. Let's do this and then we'll wrap this up. Let's see what Mashiyach says. Matthew 17, 22 to 27. We'll wrap this up with the words of Mashiyach. We got some time. That was 22. 17, 22 to 27. It reads as follows. It says, and while they were staying in Galilee, Yehoshua said to them, the son of Adam is about to be delivered up into the hands of man, and they shall kill him, and the third day he shall be raised up. And they were deeply grieved. And when they came to Kafar Nahum, those who received the tax came to Kepha and said, does your teacher not pay the tax? He said, yea. And when he came into the house, Yehoshua spoke to him first, saying, what do you think, Shimon? From whom do the sovereigns of the earth take toll or tax? From their own sons or from the strangers? Kepha then said to him, from the strangers. Yehoshua said to him, then the sons are exempt. But lest we cause them to stumble, go to the sea, cast in a hook, and take the fish that comes up first. When you have opened his mouth, you shall find a piece of money. Take that and give it to them for me and you. My goodness, the sons are exempt. Hmm? Hmm? And so, Total, we don't want people to stumble. And that's the issue. It's not about the obligation or the duty. We're exempt. It's about not offending our people and getting them to not understand the fullness of it. And our role as the head and not the tail. Our role as the lenders and not the borrowers. Our role as above and not beneath. Our role as the priest of Elohim and a set apart nation that Yah has called us to be. Our role to put everything under the feet of Mashiach and offer it back to Abba Yah. That's what this is about. All tributes are to come to us in spirit and truth. So when you pay tribute to something, that means that it's greater than you. And in saying that, if we're the children of the Most High, and we're bringing the Most High's kingdom on earth, is any other kingdom greater than our Father's kingdom? In fact, when you read Nehemiah and Ezra, Sanballat was tripping because they was like, you know what? If this kingdom gets established again, they ain't paying tribute to nobody. And all the other kings of the earth are going to be mad. Selah. So who are we offering our gifts to? Not just physically either, but spiritually. Who are we offering our gifts to? You know, I think of a lot of our artists and musicians, our entertainers. You know, they're very talented and gifted. They're genius, in fact. But who are they offering their genius to? Who are they giving their talents and their gifts over to? And that's what we have to think about ourselves every day. Who are we serving? Who are we offering ourselves to? Even if it's to ourselves, are we offering ourselves to ourselves? Are we doing this for our pleasure? Because if so, that's satanic. You know, there's a difference between Satanism and Luciferianism. Satanism is just pride filled. So when you worshiping yourself, that's pride. But when you start worshiping these secrets, these mysteries, that's when you're getting into Luciferianism. That's a whole nother story. But I want us to really start to kind of delineate and understand as priests these distinctions. Because we're to distinguish between the clean and the unclean, the set apart and the profane, and to instruct individuals in the Torah of Yah. That's our role. That's what we do. That's who we are. We are the image and likeness of our Father and our King. What does that mean? Again, we are the mind and we are the ways of our Father and our King on earth, incarnate, in flesh. We are the Word made flesh. That is who we are to be. Not just Mashiyach Yahushua ben Yosef, not just him. No, this is supposed to be an entire kingdom of people walking as one like that tabernacle, united in purity. Any closing thoughts? We get a nice chunk of Shabbat back. All right. I like this one here. We'll go with the V first. Come on, Elkanah. I'm about to excuse myself for one moment, but go ahead, brother. Give me one moment, though. I'm going to be right back.
Oh, yeah, can you hear me? Oh, yes. Yes. Shalom, everybody. Brother Afar, Ima.
Shalom, my brother.
Shalom, how you been doing, man?
I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah. Hey,
How you
Ma.
been?
I've been doing all right. Yeah. Thank you, my Lord. Yes.
Well, she has something to do today.
How you been doing, Ima?
I'm good. I'm good, thank you. Toda. How you doing?
Oh, just trying to get moved and working and just trying to stay out of my own way.
Oh,
Just,
okay.
yeah, just been going through the word, trying to get some understanding. About to get married.
Get it.
But I had a question for Boy Ray. When they were setting up the tabernacle and things like that. Now we know he said that there was a mixed multitude that came out with them. And I was trying to figure out what was their job. What did they do? Or were they even allowed to take part in the construction and the upkeep of the tabernacle? What was their job? What does the scripture even say?
I can barely understand you. Maybe
Can you hear me
Brother
now?
Ariah can kind of hear you
Can you hear
a
me
little
now?
better than me.
Yeah, I could
Okay.
barely hear.
Can you hear me now? Hold on.
Yeah, you coming in a little better.
A little better. I said I was wondering can you hear me now? Can y'all hear me?
I can hear you.
I said what I was going to ask was, we know that the Israelites, when they came out of Israel, like, and there was a mixed multitude that came out with them. What was their
Hmm.
job? Or were they even, I mean, because it never says it seems like all the tasks of the Israelites, right, or the sons of Israel, but it never says what their job was, or were they even allowed to participate in the upkeep or the building of the tabernacle or the construction of the camp itself.
Um, I mean, there were different roles that individuals had, from every tribe. So, they were, their role really was just to guard Torah more than anything. That's what everybody's role really was. And so in doing that, though, they were required to, they didn't have anything to do with the tabernacle or anything like that. The only ones that dealt with the tabernacle were the Levites. And so you had perhaps farmers, you had quilters, you had knitters, you had people that served in different capacities that lended to the overall coexistence of, the community. So, you know, everybody had roles to play.
Right? And then not only that, you hear a lot about the role of Levi, and then what was the other ones? The ones that camped right in the back of the tabernacle, right behind it. Starts with a C. What's the name of it?
You talking about there was a camp that was in the back of the tabernacle?
No, okay, you had the ones who were instructed. They were the ones who took down the tabernacle and set it back up.
Oh, those were I know you're talking about, they were actually a later tribe that came about. But they were priests. The priests that did that though too, because the ones who had to tear it down were different
There
priests.
was
They had
some,
to.
right. There was some of them who were the sons of Levi, right? That they
Hmm.
were all, I mean, from the house of Levi, from the house of Levi, but there were sons of Levi that was instructed. They were charged with taking down the tabernacle and setting it back up. Thank
Hmm. I
you.
mean,
And
you had
so,
some people who were tree choppers. That I forgot what tribe it was or what was. 'Cause they was an outside group. They were tree choppers.
right. But
So.
it talks a lot about Levi and things like that, but it never really goes into detail what Issachar's role was Chad or Dan or Ephraim, or what were their roles as it pertains to the tabernacle or the building of it, and what roles did they play
You know where you'll find that, and you ain't gonna like it.
in the sages, probably the sages, right? But what I was asking was, right, the reason why I'm asking that question is because if it says that he spoke to the children of Israel and told them that they were supposed to be a nation of priests, right?
Mhm.
But if they were to be a nation of priests, how was it that where was their, if Levi was not present and the tabernacle was to stand for a while, or the temple, whatever the case is, who was going to, how would they have learned what the function would be inside of the tabernacle, and where to set the showbread and all these other things? Say, for instance, if the Levite or the Levite priest wasn't there, how would somebody from Ephraim or somebody from Joseph or somebody from Issachar or somebody from Judah or somebody from another tribe or another brother, how would they would have known what are the functions of the tabernacle if the only ones that was instructed are the ones that was handed this duty was the Israelites? How would they would have known how to officiate or to upkeep the tabernacle? What was the part that was given to Levi? Was it something that was just spoken to them in their ear, or how did that
Hmm.
work?
Right. Yep. The
And what?
tabernacle was specifically to be tended to by Levi.
Right,
So no one else was really going to be engaged in that process. Now, you may have had people who chop wood to present to the tabernacle, drew water, you know what I'm saying? But they weren't doing anything specifically with the tabernacle. Nah, they was off limits. They weren't
right.
gonna get to that at all.
Okay, and so this goes to my question. If Levi, if they were to be a nation of priests, if the entire nation of Israel was supposed to be a nation of priests, how would that training of being a priest, how would that been ministered to everybody else?
Well, because they were now to be ministers to the whole world. You know what I'm saying? They that priesthood is what was to be the conduit to bring the presence of Yah to earth. That was the purpose of the priesthood.
Okay,
So the
okay,
reason that they were to carry out that priesthood was to make the presence of Yah manifest on earth. You see what I'm saying? That's the
no,
ultimate
no,
goal of the priesthood.
right, okay,
So
and I get it, but what I guess what I'm asking is,
no
okay,
one's
the
supposed to
priest,
serve anyone like that, though. You see what I'm saying? That
no,
wasn't supposed
I'm talking about it at this time. I'm not talking about the ultimate end goal. I'm talking about it at this time, right? When they first came
here,
out.
like right now.
No, when they first came out, what we're reading about, when they first came out to set up the
Oh,
tabernacle, okay? What I'm saying
mm-hmm.
is, what I'm saying is that at this time, if Israel was supposed to be a nation of priests and they had certain duties, they were to set apart, make a difference between the profane and the holy and the unholy. They were supposed to make an atonement for the sacrifice of sins. And they also acted as uh, teachers, didn't they? At the same time,
Actors
of
who?
as teachers of the Torah at the same time, but they're
Mm-hmm.
not okay. So what I'm saying is that at this time, if that was given to Levi, can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Okay, yes, sir.
Okay, if that was given to Levi, how was it that it was? How was it that they were able to? How was it that they were so? The rest of Israel, like Issachar and all the rest of the brothers, how were they to become nations of priests if the duty was just given to Levi at that time? How were they? Basically did they take some people from Judah and some people from Issachar and some people from here, and the Levi say, okay, this is what we do in our day to day thing, and was it cross training
Mm-hmm.
amongst the people or something of that nature?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the firstborn from every house was taken to be trained to be the priest. They were geared up on that note to be the priest,
Okay,
right? So the firstborn was always the one who officiated. And so that firstborn would go and serve that capacity for the family, but also for the nation. So that's where it started with right there. Um, and so this was from every tribe. Every tribe had that firstborn responsibility from every generation. And so that's what, you know, was to bring forth that reality. So the priesthood, yes, there was just like the Leviim. The Leviim were also trained up in that matter as well. So yeah, they were to be trained up in that. And so before that, they were just because when you go to Melchizedek, Melchizedek is that's how Melchizedek works. Melchizedek works on that level, where every firstborn is actually the priest of that particular household. So they assures the generation is continued, and so prior to Levi coming into the fold, that's how it worked generationally. But then when Levi came, due to the incident of the golden calf, now you had a particular tribe that took over that responsibility. And prior to that, it was the entire kingdom of priests that were responsible for it. Yep. Does that make sense? Elkanah, does that make sense?
Moray, can you hear me?
Yeah, that's really clear now. Does that make sense? So you hear what I'm saying?
Yeah, that makes that makes sense. It makes sense. It just so now I can understand how that was to be kind of passed down from from Levi to someone else. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But like I said, I was just wondering what everybody else's role was because it seemed like the major role was given to just Levi. That's what it just seems like.
Well, after the golden calf incident, yes.
But they had different roles though.
Every
Depending,
tribe did. Mm-hmm.
yeah. Now I'm talking about in regards to the priests. Like certain
Oh,
priests,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, you had some priests that could handle the touching of the silver and the menorah. You had some that couldn't. You had some that was
Mhm.
able to carry certain things, and then you had some that couldn't.
Right, right, right. So the Lewiim, the Lewiim were the ones who dealt with the courtyard. So they would um keep the altar going. They would chop the wood, they would draw the water, you know what I'm saying? They would also carry the tabernacle when the tabernacle was broken down. And it gets specified as we move on. Then you'll see what the particular families do. So you have like the Kohathites, you got the Merarites, you see what they'll specifically do within Levi. Prior to that, though, you had different assignments. Well, it was no tabernacle then. So the way that the priesthood was carried out was different because the sacrificial system wasn't as uh codified as it was after the golden calf incident. Prior to that, it was just free will offerings. And so it was a different system that they had in terms of how they brought their gifts and offerings and sacrifices. So it adapted over time, right? It adapted and took on new meaning in response and in correction of Israel's uh like mistakes, because you got to remember the Torah is typically given to rectify error in human nature. Well, that's what the Torah it addresses errors in human nature and allows for humanity to be redeemed by following these prescriptions for our evolution into messianic consciousness. Because when you're dealing with the Messiah is a priestly king and is a priest, a king, and a prophet. The Messiah encompasses all those offices. The Messiah is a priest, the Messiah is a king, the Messiah is a prophet. But this is what it says in what chapter is that? Revelation. In Revelation, I want to say it's chapter 1. Yeah. It says, Yohanan, to the 7 assemblies that are in Asia, favor and peace, favor to you and peace from him who is and who was and who is coming, and from the 7 spirits that are before his throne, and from Yahushua Messiah, the trustworthy witness, the firstborn from the dead, and the ruler of the sovereigns of the earth. To him who loved us and washed us from our own sins in his own blood, here's the key, and has made us sovereigns and priests to his Elohim and Father. To him be esteem and rule forever and ever. Amen. But he has made us sovereigns and priests to his Elohim and his Father. This is all of us. Going back to Exodus 19:5 and 6. This is what the fulfillment is to look like. You see chapter 1. Chapter 1 is the finished deal of Revelation. It's the finished deal. But what it does is it walks you through to that till when you get back to 21 and 22, you see Revelation 1 all over again. God will show you the end before the beginning so that you understand it. That's what the vision, that's what he just did with the tabernacle. That's what he's doing with Moshe. He's showing you the result of the tabernacle before the tabernacle was even built. I'm gonna show you what this looked like before you even see it, so that you know what to do and how to do it when it's here. That's what he's talking about in Isaiah 20. What's that? 5 and 26. No, 43 and 44, 42 and 43. That's what he's talking about. That's prophecy. See what I'm saying? The word of Yah is prophetic in that it will bring forth that which it sent, what it's sent out to do. And it ain't about being a prediction, it's about following the will of Yah, because that's the will of Yah. That's what prophecy is. Prophecy is just fulfilling the will of Yah. Good question, though. That's a good question. That's a really good question. Any other thoughts, comments, questions? All right, let's get this Ashrei going, and then we'll get into Alena. So, in the spirit of prayer, hallelujah. Ashrei Yoshvei Betecha, Oje Hallelujah Selah. Ashrei ha'am shachach lo, Ashrei ha'am she'Adonai Elohav, Tehila ala David, Orom Amalek Eloha Hamalek, Vabracha Shemka le'olam vayed, Echol yom ba'berchocha, V'hadala Shemka le'olam vayed, Gadol Adonai umchalel mod, Velegalato ein hucher, Dolador yizbach ma'asicha, V'geveroticha yigidu. Hadar chovod hodecha, vadivrei nefleticha sicha, azos noroteka yimeru, ugodoteka asaforna, zakarov tebeka yibahu, vazadochotacha yareinu, hanun baruchu medonai, erechu pim uvador chesed, tov Adonai lechol, v'rachamav kol ma'asav, Yoducha Adonai kol ma'asicha, v'hasdicha yabakocha, avod ma'achoteka yimeru, ugeverotecha yideberu, lehodia livnei ha'adam geverotav, ukavod hadar malkuto, malchuteka mokot kol hamayim, umsheltecha b'kol dor v'dor, somek Adonai lekol hanefelim, v'zochef lekol hakopofim, Ayeni koeli kais baru, viata notin limhem aklam biato, potacha yadicha, umasbir lekol haratzon, tzadik Adonai bekol derechav, v'chasid bekol ma'asav, harov Adonai lekol karaav, lechol asher yichrachu bi'emet, ratzon yaraav ya'aseh, ve'et shoita yishima v'yoshiyam, Shomer Adonai et kol ahabav, ve'et kol harashim yashmid, tehillah Adonai yidabar pi, v'yivarek kol basarshim kol le'olam vayet, v'yanachnu neberech yah, ma'ata va'ed olam hallelujah. What happiness to be in your house, to sing your praise, to belong to your people. What happiness to worship Elohim. My God, I will praise you always, day after day. I will extol you. El is infinite and awesome, beyond all praise and all description. Age after age, your works are praised, your power is felt, your deeds are lauded. I too am touched by your esteem, the wonders of your creation. Some may speak of you only in awe, but I speak of you with immense joy. The very mention of your goodness yields delight. El is kind and compassionate, patient and very loving, good to everyone, compassionate to all creatures. May all your children be worthy of you. May all who claim to love you be a blessing. May they honor your sovereignty by declaring your power, by showing the splendor of righteousness. Your realm is the unbound cosmos. Your reign endures throughout eternity. El upholds all who falter and lifts up all the downtrodden. All eyes must look to you with hope. Satisfy our needs in due time. Your hand is always ready to fill our life with joy. You are just in every way, loving in every gesture. You are near to all who call upon you, to all who call upon you with integrity. May Elohim always hear the prayer of the pious, always answer their pleas, come to their aid. May Elohim guard every loving soul and destroy all wickedness. May my own lips utter Elohim's praise. May all people worship Elohim always. May all of us praise Elohim now and forever. Hallelujah. Aleinu l'shabeach le'adon hakol. Take gedula la yitzeh breshit. Shelo sanu kegoy haratzot. Velo samanu b'mishpachot hadoma. Shalo sam halchenu kahim. Vegoralenu kakol hamonam. Ve'anachnu porim. U'mishtacholim u'modim. Lifnei melech. Melki Hamalakim Hakadosh Baruch Hu Shehu Note Shemayim Beyesod Eretz Emeshov Yakra Oba Shemayim Mima'al Ushechina Dozo Bagobo Hai Moromim Hu Eloheinu Einod Emet Malkenu Efes Zolato Hakatuv Batorato Vayadata Hayon Heshavata Elavabacha Ki Adonai hu ha-Elohim, b'shamayim mima'al v'ha'aretz metechad, einod Elkena velachad Adonai Eloheinu, la'ra'ot mahara b'teferet uzecha, l'ha'abir godelin min ha'aretz v'halalim kedrot yikratun, etakeni elam v'melkut shadai v'kol b'ni basar yikra'u b'shemecha, lehaponot eliki kodesh yeretz, Yikiruva yode u koyesh ve'etaba ki lecha tikara kobarek tisha ba kolashon lefaneka Adonai Eloheinu yikera u ve'yifalu v'lecha boshim ka yakar yotanu ve'yikabalu kolam el malkuteka v'temlok elehim maharat le'olam vayed ki hamelkut shel chahi u'le'elemi etin log bakavol kakatuv b'toratecha Adonai yimlok le'olam vayed v'nei amar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz v'yom ha'hu yihye Adonai echad u'shemo echad. We rise to our duty to praise the master of all, to acclaim the creator. El made our lot unlike that of other people, assigning to us a unique destiny. We bend the knee and bow, acknowledging the supreme sovereign, the Holy One. Blessed be he who spread out the heavens and laid the foundations of the earth, whose esteemed abode is in the highest heaven, whose mighty dominion is in the loftiest heights. This is our El. There is no other. In truth, El alone is our ruler, as it is written in the Torah. Know this day and take it to heart that Adonai is El in heaven above and on earth below. There is no other. And so we hope in you, Adonai, our El, soon to see your splendor, that you will sweep away idolatry so that all the false mighty ones will be utterly destroyed, and that you will perfect the world by your sovereignty, so that all humanity will invoke your name and all the earth's wicked will return to you repentant. And all who live will know that to you every knee must bend, every tongue pledge loyalty. To you, Adonai, may all bow and worship, and may they give honor to your esteem. May everyone accept your dominion, reign over all soon and for all time. Sovereignty is yours in esteem, now and forever. Thus is it written in your Torah, Adonai reigns forever and ever. Such is the prophetic assurance. Adonai shall be acknowledged ruler of all the earth. On that day, Adonai shall be one, and his name one. It says, by Yom Hahu Yihye Adonai Echad U'Shemo Echad B'Shem Mashiyach Yahushua Ben Yosef Baruch Hashem Hallelujah Hallelujah Hallelujah. Vimiru. Amen. And amen. Shabbat Shalom, Mishpacha. Ima Sharon Wednesday. Let's look at Tuesday. Let's look at Tuesday at 7. Because I won't have anything going on Tuesday. We're gonna just do Tuesday this week if everybody's available. And we'll look at
Available.
What is it we were going to look at, Ema? We were going to look at the directions. We're going to consider the
Right.
directions, northeast, southwest. So I'll look into that. If you can look into that too, that'd be cool. And we'll
I will.
find some stuff to come together and we will like
Yeah.
make it pop. So that's going to be very interesting.
Okay, so why we not meeting on Wednesday again?
I got a pitch to make on Wednesday. I got my cohort I usually have on Tuesdays. We had something that was supposed to take place last month, but the weather postponed it, and so they moved it to March 5th, which is Wednesday.
So we got to take a back seat. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, y'all can move forward on Wednesday without me if you want to do that. I mean, I'm just if y'all want me
Now
to
you
do it
don't
with
even
you.
want to fellowship with us. Is that what you're saying?
Boy, you hilarious. Sarah, what's wrong with this guy right here?
I don't know. He better be wanting to meet with all of us.
That's
No
right.
matter what day.
That's
You
right.
know what I mean?
Yes,
Look, you
ma'am.
pop it up, be there. Just show up. Just show up.
I'm just trying to figure it out, Mashiyach, because most of the time he don't want to show up on time or he just don't even come.
What time you get here today?
No, that's between you and him, because I mean at
Right. Thank
7:30,
you,
don't
Iman.
even look for me, because I'm
Yes,
I
asleep.
feel you.
yes, ma'am. Yes,
That's
ma'am.
real. That's real.
I try, but I'm the old